What if the voice that narrates your life has been reading from the wrong script? Have you ever felt it? A quiet, persistent sense of being a stranger in your own story. You play your part, you say the lines, you move from one scene to the next, but a deep and weary part of you knows this role was not written for you. This is not the exhaustion of the body, but the profound fatigue of the soul, a weariness that comes from the relentless effort of upholding an identity that does not belong to you. We live in a world that never sleeps, a cacophony of demands, expectations, and digital ghosts that whisper what we should be, what we should want, what we should chase. The noise is so constant, so overwhelming, that we have forgotten the sound of our own silence. We have mistaken the echo of the world for the voice of our own heart. But somewhere, beneath the layers of conditioning, beneath the armor of achievement and the masks of social grace, the original script remains. It is not loud, it does not demand, it simply waits. This, right here, is not another demand on your time. It is not another voice telling you how to be better, faster, or stronger. This is an invitation to step off the stage, to let the curtain fall, and to sit for a while in the quiet darkness of the empty theater. It is an invitation to listen, not to me, but to the stillness that I am pointing to. The stillness that exists behind every thought, beneath every emotion, within every breath. We are about to begin a dialogue, not between you and I, but between you and the forgotten wisdom of your own being. This is a journey of return, a journey to find the words that heal, because they were your words all along. This is the path back to the original story, the one your soul has been waiting to tell. So, breathe. Let go of the world for a moment, and let us begin. It begins as a whisper, so close and so constant that you mistake it for your own breathing. The inner narrator, the tenant in your mind that never pays rent but occupies the most valuable space. It is the voice that comments, judges, and predicts, a relentless monologue that fills the sacred space of your consciousness. It is the first thing you hear in the morning, cataloging your regrets from yesterday and your anxieties for today. It is the last thing you hear at night, replaying your perceived failures on a loop. For years, perhaps a lifetime, you have not questioned its authority. You believed this voice was you. Its fears were your fears. Its limitations were your limitations. Its judgments were your truth. But the very fact that you are here, listening, means that another part of you has awakened. A deeper, quieter intelligence is beginning to stir, and it is asking a revolutionary question: who is this that is speaking? And more importantly, who is this that is listening? This is the first great step on the path of return, to recognize that the voice is not the source, but an echo. Imagine your consciousness, your true self, as a vast, silent cathedral. It is immense, empty, and filled with a profound stillness. It has always been here. It is the very essence of you. Now, imagine that long ago, a sound was made in this cathedral. Perhaps it was the sound of a parent's criticism, the sound of a childhood heartbreak, the sound of a societal belief you were taught to accept as law. That single sound did not simply vanish. In the vastness of your inner cathedral, it began to bounce off the walls, creating an echo. Over time, more sounds were added, more fears, more rules, more pains. Each one joined the chorus, creating a complex, overlapping web of echoes that reverberates endlessly. The tragedy is not that the echoes exist. The tragedy is that we have spent our lives inside this cathedral, listening so intently to the echoes that we have forgotten the silence from which they arise. We have mistaken the noise for the architecture. We believe we are the echo, when in fact, we are the cathedral itself. This inner narrator, this echo, has a distinct personality. It is a creature of habit. It loves the familiar, even if the familiar is painful. It speaks in absolutes, using words like always and never. It is a master of catastrophizing, taking a small present-day uncertainty and projecting it into a future of guaranteed disaster. It feeds on fear and thrives in the shadows of doubt. Its primary function is survival, but it is a primitive and outdated form of survival. It believes that by constantly reminding you of your flaws and potential dangers, it is keeping you safe. It operates from a script written in your past, and it does not believe in your ability to write a new one. It seeks to keep you small, because a small, predictable world feels safer to it. But you are not small, and your life was not meant to be a fortress of fear. You were meant to be an ocean of possibility. The conflict, the deep inner friction you feel, is the clash between this fearful, contracting echo and the expansive, silent truth of your being. It is the war between your memory and your potential. You feel a deep yearning for peace, for stillness, for a quiet mind. Yet, when you attempt to find it, the noise seems to grow louder, more insistent. This is the narrator's survival instinct kicking in. It screams for your attention because your attention is its lifeblood. The silence you seek feels like a threat to its very existence. And so the internal battle rages on. The desire for change, wrestling with the addiction to the familiar chaos. Here is the central truth that will serve as your anchor in this storm. You are not the voice in your head. You are the awareness that hears it. Read those words again in the silence of your mind. You are not the voice. You are the one who notices the voice. This is the great unveiling, the pulling back of the curtain. The voice is an object in your awareness, just like a tree outside your window or the feeling of the chair beneath you. It is something you can perceive, and if you can perceive it, you cannot be it. The perceiver is always separate from the perceived. This simple, profound realization is the beginning of all freedom. It creates a space, a tiny pocket of air between the listener and the voice. In this space lies your power. In this space, you cease to be a prisoner of the monologue and become its witness. You move from being the actor lost in the drama to being the audience, watching the play unfold with a calm, detached curiosity. Let us make this real. Let us move from philosophy to practice. For the next 5 minutes, I want you to engage in a simple exercise of non-judgmental listening. You can close your eyes if that helps. Your task is not to silence the voice. Let me repeat that. Your task is not to fight it, not to argue with it, not to suppress it. Any form of resistance is just another layer of noise. Your task is simply to listen, to allow the inner narrator to speak, but to listen to it as if you were a scientist studying a strange phenomenon. Notice its tone. Is it anxious, angry, dismissive? Notice its favorite words and phrases. What are the recurring themes? Does it talk about the past, the future? Does it judge you? Does it judge others? Do not get caught in the content of the words. Do not believe the stories it tells. Simply observe the patterns, the energy, the texture of the voice. When you get lost and find yourself believing the voice again, which you will, gently and without criticism, return to the position of the witness. Simply note, I was lost in a thought, and come back to listening. Treat the voice like clouds passing in the sky of your awareness. You are the sky, not the clouds. The clouds come and go, some dark and stormy, some light and wispy, but the sky remains unchanged, vast and clear. This practice of detached observation is the most potent form of alchemy. As you continue this practice, day after day, something remarkable begins to happen. The voice does not necessarily go away, but it begins to lose its power over you. Its emotional charge begins to dissipate. Its pronouncements, once received as gospel truth, now sound hollow, like a radio playing in another room. The echo starts to fade because you are no longer feeding it with your belief and attention. You have withdrawn the energy that sustained it. You begin to realize that you have a choice. You can pick up the thought and engage with it, or you can let it pass. This power of choice is your reclaimed sovereignty. The void, the silent cathedral of your consciousness, ceases to be a terrifying emptiness and is revealed for what it truly is: a space of infinite peace, creativity, and potential. It is the canvas upon which all of life is painted. Before, you were so focused on a single, frantic brushstroke that you thought it was the entire painting. Now, you are stepping back and seeing the vast, pristine canvas that holds it all. This silent, aware space is your true home. It is the source of all wisdom, all intuition, all genuine connection. The echo was a distraction, a ghost haunting the halls, pulling you away from the profound reality of your own presence. You have now taken the first, most crucial step. You have met the narrator. You have seen it for what it is, an echo from the past, a program running on old code. You have established yourself as the silent awareness, the vast and peaceful space in which this echo reverberates. You have found the gap between stimulus and response, and in that gap, you have found your freedom. Now that you can hear the echo clearly without being consumed by it, a new curiosity arises. You begin to wonder about its origins. If this voice is just a reflection, what was the original sound? What external forces and internal decisions created this specific pattern of noise that has narrated your life for so long? This inquiry leads us out of the inner cathedral for a moment, to look at the world we have allowed to shape our inner soundscape. It leads us to examine the heavy, rusted chains we have used to anchor ourselves to our own suffering. It leads us to the anchor of blame. Having recognized the incessant narrator within, the echo in the void, your awareness naturally seeks its source. You have stepped back from the noise, and in the newfound quiet, you can begin to investigate the sounds that created it. One of the oldest, heaviest, and most foundational sounds is the clang of a chain against the side of a ship. It is the sound of blame. It is an energy that we project outwards, a story we tell ourselves so consistently that it solidifies into our reality. Blame is perhaps the most seductive and powerful of all emotional narcotics. It offers a villain, a reason, and a righteous identity as the wronged party. It is a story that feels good to tell, a wound that feels validating to show. But it is a story that keeps you chained to the very thing you wish to escape. Imagine your life is a magnificent ship, built with the sturdy timbers of your potential and rigged with the sails of your dreams. For years you have been sitting on the deck, feeling the violent rocking of a relentless storm. The winds of change howl around you, the waves of circumstance crash over the bow, and yet your ship goes nowhere. It is tossed and turned, battered and bruised, but it makes no progress. You are stuck. You look to the sky and curse the storm. You look to the horizon and curse the sea. You curse the shipbuilder for not making your vessel stronger. You curse the other ships that seem to sail by with ease. The storm is the problem, you tell yourself. The world is the problem. But you have failed to look down, over the side of the ship, into the murky depths below. There, disappearing into the darkness, is a thick, rusted chain. This chain is connected to a colossal anchor, lodged deep in the seabed of your past. This anchor is blame. The anchor feels like safety. It provides a perverse sense of stability in the chaos. As long as the anchor holds, you know your position. You are the person who was wronged by your parents, wounded by a lover, betrayed by a friend, held back by a system. This identity is solid. It is understandable. It gives you a script and a stage upon which to perform your tragedy. To be the victim is to be absolved of the terrifying burden of responsibility. If someone else is at fault for your current position, then you are not required to do the hard work of changing it. You are free to wait. You wait for an apology that may never come. You wait for the world to rearrange itself to your liking. You wait for the person who hurt you to return and fix what they broke. You expend enormous amounts of life energy, feeding your resentment, keeping the story alive, polishing the anchor until it gleams with the dark sheen of your own righteousness. But here is the stark and unforgiving truth. The anchor of blame does not harm the seabed it is lodged in. It only holds your ship in the storm. The world will not stop for your grievance. The person who hurt you has likely sailed on, perhaps oblivious, perhaps not. but their life is moving, while yours remains violently, viciously still. Clinging to blame is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. You are the only one being held captive. You are the only one being ravaged by the storm you refuse to sail out of. This is the great inner conflict you must now face, the choice between the comfort of the victim and the sovereignty of the Creator. The victim narrative is warm and alluring. It elicits sympathy from others and from yourself. It offers endless justification for inaction. The Creator narrative is stark, cold, and demanding. It offers no excuses. It states a simple, terrifying fact. You are the captain of your ship. You did not create the storm. You did not choose the sea, but you are solely responsible for the rudder and the sails. To accept this is to face an almost unbearable weight. It means that all the stories you have told yourself, all the justifications for your unhappiness, are rendered obsolete. If your life is to change, the impetus must come from you. There is no one to rescue you because you are not a damsel in distress. You are a captain, and the sea does not care about your feelings. It only responds to your actions. To cut the rope to the anchor is an act of immense courage. It is an act of rebellion against the most deeply ingrained patterns of the ego. The ego loves to be right. It would rather be right in its misery than be free in its uncertainty. To release blame is to tell the ego, I no longer care who was right or wrong. I only care about being free. This is the core message that will sever the chain. Blame is the anchor holding you in the storm. Cutting the rope is the only way to sail forward. This act is not about forgiveness in the traditional sense. It is not an altruistic gift you give to the person who harmed you. It is the most profound act of self-preservation. You are not saying, what you did was okay. You are saying, what you did will no longer have the power to define who I am today. I will not allow a memory to steer my future. I reclaim the energy I have been pouring into the past, and I will now invest it in my present. This is a declaration of energetic independence. You are taking your power back. The pain from the past may have been inflicted by another, but the suffering in the present is perpetuated by your own refusal to let go of the story. The initial wound is one thing, the anchor is another. You may not have forged the anchor, but you are the one who chooses, every single day, not to cut the rope. Let us bring this from the realm of metaphor into a tangible practice. It is time for the ownership exercise. Take a specific situation in your life where you feel stagnant, resentful, and powerless. A situation where your inner narrator constantly whispers a story of blame. Take out a piece of paper. On one side, list all the external factors you are blaming. My boss doesn't appreciate me. My partner is not supportive. The economy is terrible. I didn't have the right opportunities. Be brutally honest. Empty the well of your grievances. Now, on the other side of the paper, you must answer a single, powerful question for each item on your list. What is the 1% of this situation that I own? What is one small, tangible action I can take, or one attitude I can shift, without needing anyone else's permission or cooperation? For my boss doesn't appreciate me. Perhaps the 1% is, I can start documenting my own achievements for my own sense of accomplishment, or I can spend 10 minutes a day looking for a job where I might be valued. For my partner is not supportive. Perhaps the 1% is, I can learn to validate myself, or I can clearly and calmly communicate one specific need without accusation. You are shifting the question from the powerless, why is this happening to me, to the powerful. Given that this is the landscape, how will I choose to navigate it? You are no longer asking the storm to cease. You are deciding to become a better sailor. When you finally summon the will to cut the rope to the anchor, the effect is immediate and disorienting. The ship gives a violent lurch. You are no longer held in the familiar rocking misery. You are truly adrift. For a moment, it feels even more terrifying than before. The illusion of stability is gone. There is nothing holding you now but the vast, unpredictable ocean. This is the moment most people panic and desperately try to find a new anchor, a new person to blame, a new story of victimhood. You must resist this temptation. Breathe through the disorientation. This feeling is not danger. It is the raw, untethered feeling of freedom. It is the feeling of your ship being truly in the water for the first time. And now, something magical happens. The wind, which for so long was just a hostile force that battered your ship, is suddenly revealed to be a source of power. It is neutral. It was never against you. It was simply wind. Now that you are untethered, you can raise your sails, you can turn the rudder, you can harness this immense, impersonal power and use it to move in a direction of your own choosing. The energy you once used to curse the wind, you now use to read its currents. You have done the impossible. You have chosen freedom over the comfort of your own grievance. You have reclaimed your sovereignty as the captain of your vessel. You are no longer waiting for the storm to pass. You are learning to sail within it. But this new freedom brings with it a new, urgent need, the need for clarity. Adrift on the open ocean, with the power of the wind at your command, you must now ask the most fundamental questions. Where am I going? What is the condition of my ship? Who am I really, without the story of blame to define me? To answer these questions, you cannot rely on old maps or the opinions of others. You must be willing to see the truth of your own situation with absolute clarity. You must be willing to look at yourself not as you wish you were or as you pretend to be, but exactly as you are. This requires a different kind of courage. It requires you to stand before the unflinching mirror. Having cut the anchor of blame, your ship is now free. But freedom without direction is simply another form of chaos. As the captain, your first and most essential duty is to conduct a thorough assessment of your vessel. You cannot chart a course until you know the condition of your ship, the morale of your crew, and the truth of your current position. For this, you need a special instrument, one that is perhaps the most feared and the most vital on any true voyage of self-discovery. You need an unflinching mirror. This is not the flattering mirror of a tailor's shop, designed to make you feel good about a purchase. It is not the distorted mirror of a carnival funhouse, twisting your features into a grotesque parody. It is a simple, clean, perfectly polished sheet of glass. Its only property is truth. It reflects, with absolute neutrality, everything that is before it. It does not add, subtract, or judge. It shows the light and the shadow with the same dispassionate clarity. This is the mirror of radical honesty, and the courage to look into it is the foundation of all that follows. For most of our lives, we actively avoid this mirror. We walk through the world wearing an elaborate collection of masks. There is the mask of the competent professional, calm and in control. There is the mask of the carefree and agreeable friend, always ready with a smile. There is the mask of the dutiful son or daughter, the strong parent, the spiritual seeker. These masks are not inherently evil. They are tools, personas we adopt to navigate the complex social world. They help us function. The danger arises not from wearing the masks, but from forgetting that we are wearing them. The line between the performance and the performer blurs, and we begin to believe that we are the mask. We invest so much of our life force into polishing these masks, ensuring they are perfectly fitted, that the true face beneath grows pale and unfamiliar. We develop a deep, primal fear of what might lie underneath. We fear that if the mask were to slip, what would be revealed is something inadequate, something broken, something unlovable. And so we clutch our masks ever tighter, terrified of a moment of genuine vulnerability, a moment of true seeing. This is the source of the imposter syndrome that haunts so many of us. We live with the persistent, low-grade anxiety that we will be found out. The irony is that the only person we are truly hiding from is ourselves. This creates a profound and exhausting inner conflict. A deep part of your soul, your authentic self, yearns to be seen. It longs to be able to put down the heavy masks and breathe. It craves connection that is based not on a flawless performance, but on the shared reality of our beautiful, messy, imperfect humanity. Yet, this yearning is met with the fierce resistance of the ego, the guardian of the masks. The ego is convinced that your survival depends on hiding your true self. It tells you, if they really knew you, they would leave. If you show your weakness, you will be devoured. Your authentic self is not enough. And so you are caught in an endless tug of war, the exhaustion of pretending on one side and the terror of being real on the other. It is the loneliest of conflicts because the very nature of it prevents you from seeking true solace. How can you be comforted when you believe you must hide the very thing that needs comfort? This is the moment to stop the war. The way to stop it is not to fight harder, but to simply lower your weapons and dare to look. Here is the truth that will steady your hand as you raise the mirror. Healing only begins when you dare to look into it and not turn away, accepting both the light and the shadow it reflects. The mirror itself is not cruel. The pain of looking does not come from the reflection. It comes from your resistance to the reflection. The mirror shows a crack in your foundation, and you flinch, not because of the crack, but because of the story your inner narrator instantly tells you about the crack. You are broken, you are failing, you are worthless. But the mirror does not say this. The mirror simply says, there is a crack, that is all. It is a neutral fact. The unflinching mirror has no agenda. It does not care about your ego's comfort. Its sole purpose is to provide you with accurate information. And the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, is the only ground upon which you can build an authentic life. To continue building on a foundation of self-deception is to guarantee the eventual collapse of everything you create. To have the courage to see the cracks is the first step toward repairing them with gold. Let us now make this act of courage a deliberate practice. This is the practice of radical honesty journaling. Find a time and a place where you will not be interrupted or overheard. This journal is your private, sacred mirror. There is no need for eloquent prose or careful grammar. There is only a need for unflinching honesty. Ask yourself these questions and write down the very first answers that arise before the inner censor has a chance to soften them, to dress them up, or to deny them. What truth about my life have I been actively avoiding? In what ways am I being dishonest with myself? In what ways am I performing for others? What am I pretending not to know about my relationships, my work, my health? What am I truly afraid of? What secret desire or longing do I deny, even to myself? What capacity for greatness, what deep potential do I possess that I am too afraid to step into and claim? This last question is crucial. The mirror does not only show us our flaws, it also shows us the terrifying, brilliant light we are afraid to shine. We are often as scared of our own power as we are of our own weakness, for our power demands responsibility. As you write, do so without the intention of fixing anything. The goal is not to create a to-do list for self-improvement. The goal is pure, unadulterated acknowledgement. The act of writing the truth down is the act of looking in the mirror. You are bringing what lurks in the shadows of your subconscious into the light of your conscious awareness. The initial moments of this practice can be painful. To see, written in your own hand, the ways you have been complicit in your own unhappiness, the opportunities you have missed out of fear, the relationships you have sabotaged through insecurity, can be a bitter pill to swallow. Allow yourself to feel the grief, the regret, the shame. Do not turn away from these feelings. They are part of the reflection too. But if you can stay with it, if you can breathe through the initial discomfort, something profound begins to shift. Beneath the pain, a wave of relief washes over you. The immense, draining, lifelong effort of suppressing the truth is finally over. The energy you were using to hold the masks in place is liberated. It flows back into you, and you feel a new sense of solidity, of integrity. You begin to develop a new and resilient form of self-respect, one that is not contingent on being perfect, but on having the courage to be honest. You realize that the shadow aspects of yourself, the parts you feared were monstrous, are far less terrifying when seen in the light. It is the monster you refuse to look at that holds all the power. The one you can face, the one you can name, becomes a part of you that can be understood and integrated, not a demon that must be exorcised. As you become more accustomed to looking in this mirror, your gaze can hold steady for longer. You look past the initial shock of the unfiltered reflection, and you begin to see the finer details. Your eyes travel over the landscape of your own being. You see the places where you have been weak, and you also see the unexpected lines of immense strength. You see the moments of cowardice, and you also see the evidence of incredible resilience. And then, you begin to notice the scars. Some are faint, silvery lines from old healed wounds. Others are raw and new. Some are self-inflicted, the result of your own past ignorance. Others were carved there by the actions of others, the anchor of blame you have just released. The mirror shows them all, neutrally, as part of the terrain. Your first instinct, your old habit, might be to recoil in shame, to find a way to cover them, to hide them, to pretend they do not exist. But the journey of healing asks something different of you now. It asks you not to hide your scars, but to learn their stories. It asks you to touch them not with shame, but with a quiet reverence. For these are not marks of imperfection. They are maps of your survival, and learning to read them is the next sacred step on your journey home. Having stood before the unflinching mirror, you have acknowledged the landscape of your being, complete with its sunlit peaks and its shadowed valleys. And you have seen the scars. The instinct of the mind, the habit of a lifetime, is to see them as blemishes, as evidence of damage, as marks of shame to be hidden from the world. We live in a culture that worships the pristine, the unbroken, the flawless. But the path of deep healing asks us to turn this perception on its head. It asks us to stop seeing our scars as proof of our brokenness, and to begin seeing them as the sacred text of our survival. It is an invitation to touch them not with shame, but with reverence, for they are the very places where the light of wisdom finds its way in. This is the art of transmuting pain into power. Imagine that each significant emotional wound you have carried is a piece of raw, jagged iron ore. For years, you have tried to deal with this heavy, misshapen lump in one of two ways. The first is to bury it. You dig a hole in the basement of your psyche and drop it in, pretending it isn't there. But its weight remains unseen, yet subtly tilting the entire foundation of your life. It makes you inexplicably sad on a sunny day, or fills you with a nameless anxiety in moments of peace. The second method is to carry it. You haul it around in a metaphorical backpack, the constant, draining weight of it, shaping your posture, limiting your movement, and exhausting your spirit. You grow so accustomed to the burden that you mistake it for a part of your own body. In both cases, the ore remains in its raw, useless, and painful state. What you have not yet learned is that you are not just a victim of this burden, you are also an alchemist, standing before a forge. And within that forge, this ugly piece of iron can be transformed not into nothing, but into a sword of gleaming steel. This unprocessed pain functions like a series of energetic landmines buried just beneath the surface of your everyday life. You can be walking along, feeling fine, when a seemingly innocent comment from a friend, a particular tone of voice from a partner, or a scene in a film suddenly triggers a massive, disproportionate emotional explosion. You are thrown into a state of rage, terror, or profound sorrow that feels completely out of sync with the present moment. This is the landmine detonating. The present event was merely the light footstep that activated a charge buried long ago. This is why you sabotage the relationship that feels too safe, or flee the opportunity that feels too good to be true. The ghost of the past is the true puppet master. It creates a life of avoidance, a shrinking world with ever more no-go zones, places and conversations and feelings you must constantly navigate around. This is not living. It is a state of perpetual low-grade siege, where you are held hostage by the ghosts of your own history. Herein lies the profound inner conflict. The desperate, understandable desire to forget the past versus the inescapable truth that the past has not forgotten you. Your mind, in its attempt to protect you, screams, "Do not go there. Do not touch that pain. It will overwhelm you. It will be just as bad as the first time." It equates feeling the memory with reliving the event. And so you obey, you turn away, you distract yourself, you numb yourself. But a deeper, wiser part of you knows the truth. It knows that what is resisted persists. It knows that the energy it takes to constantly suppress the past is far greater than the energy it would take to finally face it. It knows that the only way out is through. This is the choice between living as a haunted house, full of locked doors and forbidden rooms, or taking a deep breath, lighting a candle, and undertaking the courageous work of walking into those rooms to see what is truly there. This is the central message that will light your way into those dark rooms. Your scars are not signs of weakness, but proof that you have survived. They are where the light enters you. This is a radical reframing. A scar is not an open wound. A scar is evidence of healing. It is the tissue that the body created to knit itself back together, often stronger than what was there before. To have a scar means you endured the wound, and you are still here. The pain carved a channel into you, and it is through that very channel that a new depth of understanding, compassion, and resilience can now flow. The wound itself was not a gift. The pain was just pain. But the wisdom you can alchemize from it, that is the gold. The transformation of the experience, through the lens of your own courageous awareness, is what makes the scar sacred. The pain becomes the price of admission to a deeper level of your own humanity. Let us now engage in the practice of this alchemy. It is a gentle practice, a meditation of compassion. Find a quiet, safe space where you feel secure. Close your eyes and take several slow, deep breaths, allowing your body to settle. Now, gently and without force, allow an image or a feeling of a younger version of yourself to arise. The version of you that first experienced one of these significant wounds. See that child, that teenager, that young adult. See the fear in their eyes, the confusion, the pain. The old habit would be to feel shame, to judge them for their weakness, or to quickly turn away because it's too painful. Today, you will do something different. From your heart, from the wise, resilient self that you are today, I want you to actively generate a feeling of deep compassion. The same pure, uncomplicated compassion you would feel for a lost puppy or a crying child in the street. Now, send that feeling to your younger self. Beam it to them like a warm, golden light. In your mind, you can say to them, "I see you. I am here with you now. You are not alone. You did the best you could with the tools and the knowledge you had at the time. It was not your fault. I love you. You are safe with me." You are, in this moment, becoming the loving parent or compassionate witness that you needed, but perhaps did not have in that moment. You are not changing the past, but you are radically changing your relationship to it. You are healing it in the only place it truly exists, within your present consciousness. As you practice this, you are stepping into the role of the alchemist. Your loving, compassionate awareness is the fire of the forge. It is a fire that does not destroy, but purifies. Your gentle, sustained attention is the hammer. With each breath, with each wave of compassion, you are heating and hammering the raw iron ore of your pain. The impurities, the layers of shame, self-blame, and victimhood begin to smoke and burn away. They cannot survive in the heat of such unconditional love. What is left when the impurities are gone? The core material is transformed. The heavy, useless lump of iron becomes a gleaming blade of tempered steel. This is wisdom. The pain of abandonment is forged into the strength of profound self-reliance. The pain of betrayal is tempered into the wisdom of healthy discernment. The pain of failure is alchemized into the unbreakable resilience of one who knows they can fall and get back up. The scar no longer aches with the phantom pain of memory. It becomes a source of quiet power. It becomes a well of empathy, allowing you to understand the pain of others, not from a place of theory, but from a place of deep, embodied knowing. You have walked into the haunted rooms and held the ghosts in the light of your love until they dissolved. The forge has cooled, and you now hold a new kind of strength, one that is not brittle, but flexible and sharp. The house of your being has been cleared, the landmines have been deactivated. But after such intense and sacred work, the space can feel vast, empty, and strangely quiet. The familiar noise of the old pain is gone, and the silence that remains can be disorienting. A period of rest and integration is now essential. You need a sanctuary to grow accustomed to this new inner peace, to allow the dust to settle, and to learn to live in this clean, uncluttered space you have so bravely created for yourself. After the fire of the forge, you now need the cool, quiet stillness of the cathedral. You need to enter the cathedral of silence. Having walked through the fire of the forge, having faced the shadows of your past and bathed them in the light of compassion, you now stand in a cleared space. The ghosts have been laid to rest. The heavy, rusted chains of blame and the jagged iron of old pain have been transmuted. The house of your inner being is clean. But in the aftermath of such intense work, a new challenge presents itself, the profound and often unsettling quality of the quiet. For so long, your inner world was defined by noise, the clamor of the inner critic, the echoes of trauma, the storm of unprocessed emotion. Now that much of that noise has subsided, the resulting silence can feel vast, empty, and even more intimidating than the chaos it replaced. Our journey now takes us from the heat of the forge into the cool, resonant depths of the cathedral. We must learn not just to tolerate this silence, but to seek it out as a sanctuary, to inhabit it as our true home, and to discover the extraordinary power that lies waiting within it. We are a civilization addicted to noise. From the moment we wake to the moment we sleep, we are immersed in a relentless cascade of stimulation. We wake to the alarm, check the endless scroll of our phones, listen to podcasts on the commute, work in a flurry of emails and notifications, and numb ourselves in the evening with television, music, and more scrolling. We have become masters of filling every conceivable space with sound and information. We fear the void. We fear the pause between breaths, the quiet of an empty room, the moment in a conversation when no one is speaking. Why? Because in true silence, there is nowhere to hide. When the external noise ceases, we are left alone with the internal noise. We are left with ourselves or anxieties, our unanswered questions, our unfulfilled longings, the subtle discontent we spend our entire lives trying to outrun. Noise is our anesthetic. Busyness is our most cherished form of avoidance. We have been conditioned to believe that to be still is to be unproductive, and that to be quiet is to be insignificant. The truth is the precise opposite. The mind, in its perpetually agitated state, is like a lake caught in a ceaseless, whipping wind. The winds are the thousands of external inputs we allow into our consciousness every day. The opinions of others, the fears of the news media, the curated perfection of social media, the demands of our work and families. The surface of the lake is a churning chaos of waves and ripples. The water becomes murky, filled with the sediment of other people's thoughts and anxieties. In this state, the lake cannot reflect anything clearly. It cannot reflect the sky above, nor can you see into its own depths. This is the state most of us live in, a state of chronic mental distraction where genuine clarity is impossible. We try to solve our problems from within this chaotic state, which is like trying to perform delicate surgery in the middle of an earthquake. We mistake the agitation of the surface for the nature of the lake itself. We forget that beneath the turbulent surface lies a place of absolute, profound stillness. The purpose of silence is to allow the winds to die down. This is the great inner conflict of the modern soul, the conditioned, compulsive urge to do versus the deep, cellular need to simply be. When you first make the conscious choice to be silent, you will experience this conflict with visceral intensity. It is a form of withdrawal. You will sit down, close your eyes, and your mind will rebel. It will scream for a fix of stimulation. You will suddenly remember a dozen urgent emails you need to send. Your body will itch. You will feel an almost irresistible pull to reach for your phone. Just for a second. This is the addiction speaking. This is the wind fighting against the calm. This restlessness is the accumulated momentum of a lifetime of noise. Your ego, which thrives on doing and defining itself through action, feels threatened by the simple, non-productive act of being. It will tell you this is a waste of time, that you are falling behind. You must see this rebellion for what it is, a sign that the practice is working. You are finally starving the addiction of its fuel. Here is the message that will serve as your anchor in this restless sea. In silence, the world's noise fades, and the soul's voice begins to whisper. The answers you seek are not out there. They are in here. Every great wisdom tradition in human history has revered silence. It is not an empty absence. It is a potent presence. It is the canvas that makes the painting possible. It is the space between the notes that creates the music. It is the fertile ground from which all genuine insight springs. The noise of the world gives you information. The silence of your own being transmutes that information into wisdom. The solutions to your most pressing problems, the clarity on your life's path, the deep sense of peace you have been chasing in the external world, all of it is waiting for you in the quiet center of your own being. But it does not shout, it whispers. And you can only hear a whisper when you are very, very still. Let us now enter this cathedral with a deliberate practice. This is the practice of purposeful stillness. For just 10 or 15 minutes each day, you will gift yourself this sanctuary. Find a place where you can be undisturbed. Sit in a comfortable position. You are not required to do anything. There are no mantras to chant, no complex breathing techniques to follow. The only instruction is to be still and to be silent. No phone, no book, no music, no tasks. You simply sit in your own presence. At first, it will be a wrestling match. You will notice the frantic energy of your mind. You will notice the boredom, the restlessness. Do not fight it. Do not judge it. Simply observe it. Your only job is to stay. Your only job is to not abandon yourself. Think back to the metaphor of the lake. You are not trying to force the water to be calm. You cannot command the waves to cease. Your only task is to stop creating the wind. You do this by refusing to feed the mind's craving for distraction. You simply sit. The restlessness you feel is the last gust of the dying wind. If you can sit through it patiently, the calm will come of its own accord. As you persist in this practice, day after day, the miracle unfolds. The withdrawal symptoms lessen. The initial panic of the ego subsides. The winds begin to die down. The muddy sediment of your agitated mind slowly, gently, begins to settle to the bottom of the lake, and the water begins to clear. For perhaps the first time in your adult life, you experience a moment of true mental clarity. In this clarity, you begin to see things as they really are, without the distortion of your own inner noise. A difficult decision you've been wrestling with for months suddenly becomes simple. A flash of creative insight for a project appears as if from nowhere. You begin to clearly distinguish the quiet, solid voice of your own intuition from the loud, fearful voice of the ego. A deep sense of peace, a peace that is not dependent on external circumstances, begins to permeate your being. You realize that this silence is not empty at all. It is full. It is pregnant with potential. It is full of you, the real you, that has been waiting patiently beneath the noise. This newfound clarity, born of silence, reveals something crucial. As the water of the lake becomes still and transparent, your vision sharpens. You can see the reflection of the sky above with perfect precision, but you can also see the ecosystem of the lakebed itself. You begin to notice the quality and nature of your own thoughts as they swim by. You see the dark, tangled weeds of recurring negative patterns. You see the darting, shimmering fish of inspiration and love. You see the murky currents of old beliefs. And with this seeing comes a profound realization. You are not merely a passive observer of this inner world. You are its custodian. You are its gardener. You realize you have a choice. You have the power to gently pull the weeds of negativity. You have the ability to consciously feed and nurture the thoughts that bring you life. The silence has given you the clarity to see your inner garden, and now you feel the unmistakable call to begin tending to it with conscious care. You are ready to plant the seeds of intention. The vast, quiet space of the Cathedral of Silence has offered you a profound gift: clarity. The churning waters of your mind have settled, and for the first time, you can see the inner landscape of your thoughts and feelings with precision. You have shifted from being a prisoner of the noise to being a witness to the quiet, but this is not the final destination. It is the preparation of the ground. To be a witness is a powerful step, but the journey of creation calls you to become more. It calls you to move from the role of the passive observer to that of the conscious gardener. Having cleared the space, you are now invited to choose what you wish to grow there. This is the sacred and powerful work of planting the seeds of intention. Think of your mind as the most fertile garden you will ever be given. The soil is rich with limitless potential, capable of growing anything. For most of our lives, we are unconscious gardeners. We leave the gates of our garden wide open, and the winds of the world blow through, scattering random seeds across the soil. A seed of fear from a news headline lands here. A seed of envy from a social media post lands there. A seed of a parent's limiting belief, planted long ago, takes deep root in a corner. A seed of self-doubt from a passing comment sprouts overnight. The result is the default state of the human mind, a chaotic, tangled mess of weeds. We find ourselves wrestling with thickets of anxiety, choked by vines of resentment, and shaded by overgrown trees of confusion. And then we wonder why our life feels so difficult, so devoid of beauty and peace. We are living in the garden we have allowed to grow by neglect. To set an intention is the first act of conscious gardening. It is the moment you decide you will no longer leave your inner world to chance. It is the moment you close the gate, survey the fertile ground, and deliberately choose the seeds you wish to cultivate. The untrained mind is often called the monkey mind, and for good reason. It swings wildly from branch to branch, with no discernible purpose. It leaps from a worry about a future bill, to a memory of a past embarrassment, to a sudden craving for food, to an idle daydream, all within the space of a few seconds. This is not a harmless, quirky feature of being human. It is a colossal waste of your most precious resource, your life energy. A scattered mind creates a scattered life. When your focus is fragmented, your power is diluted. You become purely reactive. Your mood is dictated by whatever thought weed happens to be tallest at that moment. Your actions are driven not by a clear purpose, but by the chaotic impulses of your untended inner world. This is a life lived by default, not by design. To set an intention is to give your monkey mind a job. It is to give it a central, nourishing tree to return to, rather than allowing it to swing aimlessly through the jungle of random thoughts. Here, you will face a subtle but powerful inner conflict: the gravitational pull of passivity versus the deliberate effort of creation. It is easy to be a reactive being. It requires no energy to let your mind wander, to let your mood be dictated by the weather or the morning traffic. This is the path of least resistance. To be proactive, to be a conscious creator, requires a moment of focused energy. It requires you to pause, to go against the current of mental entropy, and to make a choice. The lazy, habitual part of you will resist this. It will say, "This is silly," or "I don't have time for this," or "It won't make a difference." This resistance is the voice of the weeds, fighting to maintain their dominion over your garden. The conflict is between the desire for a beautiful, harmonious life, and the inertia that keeps you locked in the patterns of unconscious thinking. Your task is to gently push past this resistance, knowing that the small effort it takes to plant a seed is nothing compared to the effort it takes to live a life choked by weeds. This is the core principle that will transform your inner world. Your thoughts are seeds. You cannot plant weeds and expect a garden of flowers. Choose your seeds with intention. It is vital to understand that an intention is different from a goal. A goal is a destination, an outcome you want to achieve in the future. I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to finish my project. A goal is focused on the what. An intention is a quality of being you choose to cultivate in the present. An intention is focused on the how. For example, instead of the goal of losing weight, you might set the intention to inhabit my body with loving care today. This intention will naturally guide you to make healthier choices about food and movement, not from a place of grim self-punishment, but from a place of self-love. An intention sets the energetic frequency for your day. It is about deciding how you want to feel and what quality you want to embody as you move towards your goals. It is the act of aligning your inner state before you engage with the outer world. Let us now anchor this in a simple, transformative daily practice: the morning intention setting. Before the day has a chance to impose its will on you, before you check your email or look at your phone, you will claim a single minute for yourself. This is your sacred moment of proactive creation. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and take one deep breath. Then, ask yourself one of these simple questions. What is the one quality I choose to cultivate within myself today? Or, how do I want to show up for my life today? Let an answer arise from the quiet. Do not overthink it. It should be a single word, or a very short phrase. Perhaps the word is patience, or clarity, or courage, or kindness, or focus, or grace. Whatever it is, hold that word in your mind for a few moments. Feel it. What does the energy of patience feel like in your body? What would it be like to move through your day from a state of grace? You are planting this seed in the fertile soil of your consciousness. You are giving your mind its theme for the day, its North Star. This seemingly small act is a radical shift from a reactive to a creative orientation toward life. By planting a seed of intention in the morning, you provide a reference point for the rest of your day. Later, when you find yourself in a stressful meeting and feel your frustration rising, a quiet part of you will remember, my intention today is patience. This memory creates a crucial pause, a space between the stimulus and your habitual reaction. In that space, you have a choice. You can fall back into the old pattern of reactivity, or you can consciously align your response with your chosen intention. You can ask yourself, what would a patient response look like right now? This does not mean you become a passive doormat. It means your actions will come from a place of calm strength rather than agitated reactivity. You stop being a ship tossed about by the random waves of your own moods and emotions, and you start to become the steady hand on the rudder, holding your course. The cumulative effect of this daily practice is profound. You begin to understand that your inner state is not a mysterious weather pattern that happens to you. It is a climate that you are actively, if unconsciously, creating with every thought you entertain. The practice of setting an intention is the first step in becoming a conscious climatologist of your own being. You are taking responsibility for the weather inside you. You have accepted the role of the master gardener. You have cleared the soil in the silence, and now you have planted a precious seed. But the work of the gardener is not finished with the planting. A seed, no matter how potent, needs care if it is to grow into something strong and beautiful. It needs to be watered daily with your attention. It needs to be protected from the inevitable return of the weeds and pests of distraction and doubt. This consistent, loving act of nurturing your intention, of showing up for it every single day, is the true essence of discipline. It is not a punishment, but the devoted care required to bring a fragile seed to full and glorious bloom. This is the work that takes place in the forge. You have stood in the sacred quiet of your inner garden and planted a seed of pure intention. It is a seed of peace or courage or clarity, a tiny, potent packet of potential that you have chosen with conscious care. But the act of planting, as vital as it is only the beginning. A seed left to its own devices will likely wither or be choked out by the relentless, opportunistic weeds of your old habits. For this seed of intention to sprout, to break through the soil and reach for the sun, it requires your devoted and consistent care. It requires watering, weeding, and protection. This daily loving cultivation is the true essence of discipline. The very word can make us flinch. We associate it with punishment, with harsh restriction, with the grim, joyless denial of pleasure. This is the first belief we must place into the fire. True discipline is not a punishment you inflict upon yourself. It is the highest form of love you can offer yourself. It is the promise that your future self is worth the effort of your present self. It is the sacred work of the forge. Imagine you bring the raw material of your will, your potential, to this forge. In its natural state, it is soft, pliable iron. It is easily bent by the whims of your moods, the opinions of others, and the siren call of instant gratification. An hour of your time can be bent out of shape by a mindless scroll through social media. A day of your potential can be twisted by the lethargy of procrastination. The forge is where you transform this soft iron into unyielding steel. The fire of the forge is your intention, your deep and burning why. It is the emotional heat that makes change possible, but the heat alone is not enough. The transformation requires the hammer. The hammer is the small, consistent, daily action. It is not one single heroic blow. You cannot forge steel with a single strike. It is the 1,000 rhythmic, seemingly insignificant taps, day after day after day, that align the molecules, drive out the impurities, and temper the iron into something new, something strong, something true. Our deep-seated aversion to discipline is a ghost from our past. For most of us, discipline was something external, imposed upon us by authority figures. It was the detention for being late, the disapproval for not meeting expectations. We internalized it as a tool of control used by others on us, and so we rebel against it, even when we are the ones who would benefit. To reclaim your power, you must fundamentally reframe this concept. Discipline is not a prison you are locked in. It is the key that unlocks the prison of your own weaknesses. It is the ultimate freedom. It is the freedom from being a slave to your own fleeting feelings. It is the freedom to act in alignment with your deepest values, even when, and especially when, you don't feel like it. The person who is truly free is not the one who does whatever they want in the moment, but the one who has the power to override their momentary whims to serve their highest purpose. This is the power you are building in the forge. The inner conflict here is a daily, moment-to-moment battle. It is the voice of your present self versus the vision of your future self. The present self is a creature of comfort and instinct. It wants ease. It wants dopamine. It wants to avoid discomfort at all costs. It is the voice that says, "I'll start tomorrow. One more episode won't hurt. I'm too tired." Your future self, the person you are striving to become, wants wisdom, health, peace, and accomplishment. It is the silent witness that feels the corrosive pain of regret when the present self consistently wins. Discipline is the bridge between these two selves. It is the act of the present self honoring the future self. It is choosing the acute, temporary discomfort of the hammer blow over the chronic, dull ache of knowing you have betrayed yourself yet again. Every time you choose the 5 minutes of meditation over the 5 minutes of scrolling, you are casting a vote for your future self. You are siding with the person you want to be. This is the core of the alchemical process in the forge. Discipline is not a prison, it is a forge. It burns away your weakness and shapes you into a stronger version of yourself. Every time you show up, Every time you keep the promise you made to yourself in the quiet of the morning, you are striking the hammer against the hot iron of your will. The impurities of self-doubt, laziness, and procrastination are burned away as sparks. The metal of your character becomes denser, stronger, more resilient. The most important outcome of this process is not the external result, not the book that gets written or the body that gets fit. The most important outcome is the person you become in the process. You are forging self-respect. Self-respect cannot be given to you. It cannot be bought. It cannot be affirmed into existence. It is earned. And it is earned in these small, private, unglamorous moments of choosing the forge when the rest of the world is choosing the couch. Let us now make this monumental concept practical and approachable. We will use a simple principle to begin our work in the forge. The rule of 2 minutes. Whatever new habit, whatever seed of intention you wish to cultivate, you will commit to practicing it for only 120 seconds each day. If you wish to meditate, you will sit in silence for 2 minutes. If you wish to write, you will write 1 sentence. If you wish to exercise, you will do 1 push-up or put on your running shoes. The goal here is not to achieve mastery overnight. The goal is to master the art of showing up. The greatest friction, the greatest resistance is always in the beginning. The 2-minute rule almost completely eliminates this friction. It is so small, so unintimidating that the voice of your inner resistance has almost nothing to argue with. "I don't have time" is not a valid excuse for 2 minutes. "I'm too tired" is not a valid excuse for writing 1 sentence. You are not trying to build the entire wall today. You are just learning to lay a single brick perfectly. What you will find is that momentum is a powerful force. Often, after your 2 minutes of meditation are up, you will want to continue. After you've written 1 sentence, another will follow. But even if you don't, even if you stop right at the 2-minute mark, you have already succeeded for the day. You have kept the promise. You have showed up. You have struck the hammer. You have reinforced the identity of "I am the kind of person who does what I say I will do." This is a victory of immense proportions. As you build a streak of these small daily victories, you are fundamentally rewiring your brain and your self-concept. You are building a chain of trust with yourself. The confidence that arises from this self-trust is unshakable because it is based on irrefutable evidence. You are not hoping you have willpower. You are actively forging it, day by day. The steel you create in this forge is not just for one area of your life. The resilience you build by consistently showing up for your 2-minute journaling practice is the same resilience you will draw upon when you face a career setback or a personal crisis. You are not just building a habit, you are building a spine. You are forging a character that is defined not by its intentions, but by its actions. This is the power and the grace of discipline. It is the structure that allows your life to have shape and meaning. But strength, if it is too rigid, can become a weakness. Steel is powerful, but if it is bent beyond its tolerance, it does not yield, it shatters. A life built solely on the unbending principles of the forge can become brittle, harsh, and lacking in grace. The unwavering strength of steel must be balanced by the yielding, adaptive wisdom of water. Having forged your will, you must now learn how and when to let it go. You must learn the profound art of surrender. You have stepped out of the forge, your character tempered, your will like steel. You have learned the power of focused action, the integrity that comes from keeping the promises you make to yourself. You have built an internal structure of immense strength. This is a profound accomplishment. But strength alone is not enough to navigate the complexities of life. A skyscraper built of pure steel, without the flexibility to sway in the wind, will shatter in a storm. The unbending will, for all its power, can become brittle. And so, the journey now calls for the cultivation of a complementary and seemingly contradictory virtue. Having mastered the forge, you must now learn the wisdom of the river. You must learn the high art of surrender. This word, surrender, is perhaps as misunderstood as discipline. We equate it with defeat, with weakness, with raising a white flag and giving up. This is the ego's interpretation. To the ego, which thrives on control and dominance, surrender is the ultimate failure. But from the perspective of the soul, surrender is the ultimate wisdom. It is not the act of a victim, but the conscious choice of a master. It is the recognition that you are part of a current of life that is far larger, older, and more intelligent than your own personal will. It is the decision to stop fighting this current and instead learn to flow with it, to harness its immense power, and to trust its destination. This is not weakness. This is the highest form of strength, the strength to let go. Imagine life as a great and powerful river. It has its own source, its own momentum, its own inexorable pull towards the sea. For most of our lives, we stand on the bank, terrified of its power, clutching a detailed map of where we think the river should go. When the river deviates from our map, as it always does, we react in one of two ways. The first is to jump in and try to swim furiously upstream. We paddle against the current, exhausting ourselves in a futile attempt to get back to a familiar bend, a place from our past where we felt safe. The second is to try and build a dam. We frantically pile up rocks of control, micromanagement, and rigid expectations, trying to stop the river's flow and create a small, predictable, stagnant pond for ourselves. Both of these strategies are born of fear. Both are destined for failure, and both are utterly exhausting. They are the source of the deep, chronic anxiety that pervades so much of modern life. We are trying to wrestle a universe into submission. The ego believes that its survival depends on control. It needs to know, to predict, to manage every variable. Uncertainty feels like a mortal threat, and so it creates 5-year plans, rigid schedules, and unwavering expectations for how other people should behave and how life should unfold. This is like a sailor insisting that the wind and tides must obey the chart he has drawn in his cabin. When reality inevitably fails to conform to the plan, the ego does not question the plan. It rages against reality. This is the feeling of white-knuckled resistance. It is the clenched jaw as you sit in a traffic jam, mentally fighting the reality of the situation. It is the tight shoulders as you try to force a project to meet a deadline, ignoring the clear signs that it needs more time. It is the racing heart as you try to control the feelings or actions of a loved one. This constant state of internal friction, of pushing against the grain of what is the very definition of suffering. Herein lies the profound inner conflict, the ego's desperate need to cling versus the soul's quiet invitation to let go. It is the tension between your limited personal will and the vast, impersonal intelligence of life itself. To cling is to contract. To surrender is to open. To force is to exhaust. To allow is to be energized. The part of you that has been forged in discipline knows how to set a course and hold the rudder steady. The part of you that must now learn to surrender knows that you do not control the river itself. Your job is not to command the current, but to navigate it with grace and skill. You must learn to distinguish between the things you can control: your actions, your responses, your attitude, and the things you cannot: the flow of the river itself. This is the message that will allow you to finally exhale. Surrender is not giving up. It is ceasing to fight the river of life, trusting it will carry you where you need to go. To give up is an act of despair. To surrender is an act of profound trust. It is a supremely intelligent recognition of the limits of your own power. Think of it this way. To surrender is not to drop the oars and let your boat be smashed against the rocks. That is abdication. To surrender is to stop paddling frantically against the current and instead to use your oar as a rudder, making small, skillful adjustments to navigate with the flow. It is the difference between a wrestler and a dancer. The wrestler meets force with force in a brutal contest of wills. The dancer yields to their partner, joining with the music and the movement, creating something beautiful and effortless through a process of responsive harmony. You are being invited to stop wrestling with your life and start dancing with it. Let us make this grace a tangible practice. This is a tool you can use in any moment of frustration or anxiety. It is the practice of ceasing resistance. The next time you find yourself in a situation you cannot change, an unexpected delay, a computer crash, a difficult conversation, the first step is to notice the feeling of resistance in your body. Notice the tension in your neck, the tightness in your chest, the shallow breathing. This is the feeling of you, mentally and emotionally, pushing against a reality that is already here. Now, ask yourself this simple, powerful question. What would it feel like if I stopped fighting this in my mind, just for these next 5 minutes? You are not asking yourself to like it. You are not asking yourself to approve of it. You are simply experimenting with dropping the internal war against it. And then, with your next exhale, consciously release the tension. Unclench your hands. Soften your belly. Let go of the mental storyline of, "This shouldn't be happening." Simply allow the moment to be exactly as it is, without your judgment or resistance layered on top of it. The result of this practice is a paradox of power. The moment you stop fighting reality, you reclaim all the energy you were wasting in the futile battle. This energy is now available for you to respond to the situation clearly and creatively. When you were fighting the traffic jam, you were blind and deaf to everything else. The moment you surrender to the reality of it, you might notice a song on the radio, you might have a new idea for a project, or you might simply enjoy a moment of quiet rest. By surrendering control over what you cannot change, you gain absolute control over what you always can, your own inner state. The river, once seen as an adversary, now becomes your ally. You realize it has been carrying you all along. The very challenges that you were resisting can be seen as the river's current, carving a new and unexpected path for you, leading you to a destination your limited mind could never have conceived of on its own. When you learn to float on your back in this great river, instead of constantly struggling to stay afloat, your perspective shifts entirely. Your awareness, no longer consumed by the fight for survival, is free to expand. You start to notice things. You notice the precise, intricate pattern of a leaf floating by. You notice the warmth of the sun on your face. You notice the sound of the water lapping against the sides of your boat. Released from the prison of your own resistance, you begin to see the 1,000 small, overlooked beauties and kindnesses that the river of life is constantly offering you. You were blind to them before because you were too busy fighting. Now, your eyes are open. This state of open, gentle awareness, of noticing the gifts that are already present in the journey, is the natural birthplace of gratitude. You are no longer focused on where the river is failing to meet your expectations, but on the grace it is showing you in this very moment. You are ready to learn the alchemy of a grateful heart. Having learned to surrender to the great river of life, you cease your frantic struggle. You are no longer swimming against the current, but floating with it, carried by a power much greater than your own. In this state of receptive stillness, your senses, once dulled by the fight for control, begin to awaken. You notice the symphony of small wonders that was always present but previously ignored. The intricate dance of sunlight on water, the feeling of a gentle breeze on your skin, the quiet strength of the trees on the riverbank. This simple act of noticing, of receiving the gifts of the present moment without demand or expectation, is the fertile ground from which gratitude is born. Gratitude is not a mere platitude, not a polite thank you mandated by social grace. It is a profound and powerful alchemy of perception, capable of transforming the leaden reality of lack into the shimmering gold of abundance. Imagine that your life, in its entirety, is a vast and spacious room. This room contains everything, all your joys and all your sorrows, your successes and your failures, your strengths and your weaknesses. There is a magnificent fireplace giving off a steady warmth, a comfortable chair, beautiful works of art on the walls. There are also cracks in the plaster, a draft coming from under the door, and a few cobwebs in the high corners. Your conscious attention is like a single, powerful flashlight beam in this otherwise dark room. Your entire experience of the room, your entire experience of your life, is determined by where you choose to point that beam. For reasons rooted deep in our evolutionary past, we are born with a tendency to point the flashlight at the flaws. Our brains are wired for survival, and survival depends on noticing threats, problems, and deficits. This is the negativity bias. Our mind is like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. Left to its own devices, it will scan the room and relentlessly focus the beam on the crack, the draft, and the cobweb. And so, we live in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction, shivering from the draft, annoyed by the crack, blind to the roaring fire, and the beautiful art that have been there all along. This is the tyranny of the ungrateful mind. It creates a reality of lack, regardless of your external circumstances. You can be surrounded by love, but feel lonely because you focus on the one person who disappoints you. You can have a roof over your head and food on your table, but feel poor because you focus on what your neighbor possesses. This mindset of lack is a self-perpetuating prison. The more you focus on what is missing, the more you will find is missing. The flashlight, held on the crack long enough, begins to imagine cracks everywhere. This leads to the inner conflict that defines so much of our internal chatter. The automatic, deeply ingrained habit of complaint versus the conscious, deliberate effort of appreciation. To complain is easy. It requires no effort. It is the default setting of the untrained mind. We bond with others over shared complaints. It is a strange, low-level form of connection based on mutual dissatisfaction. Gratitude, on the other hand, requires a gentle but firm act of will. It requires you to wrestle the flashlight away from the fearful, primitive part of your brain and consciously redirect its beam. It is the conflict between the lazy comfort of a familiar misery and the courageous effort required to seek out and acknowledge the presence of joy. Here is the secret of the great alchemists of the soul. Gratitude is an alchemist. It does not change the world, but it transforms the lead of your perception into the gold of abundance. Let this sink in. The practice of gratitude does not magically fix the crack in the wall or seal the draft from the door. The objective facts of the room may remain the same. What changes is you, the perceiver. By consciously turning your attention, your flashlight beam, to the warmth of the fire, the comfort of the chair, the beauty of the art, you alter your entire experience of the room. The warmth of the fire becomes more real to you than the cold of the draft. The beauty of the art captivates your attention so fully that the cobwebs fade into insignificance. The problems have not vanished, but they have lost their power over your inner state. You have not changed the world. You have changed the lens through which you view the world. And since your perception is your reality, you have, in the most meaningful sense, changed everything. Let us now anchor this alchemy in a simple daily ritual. This is the practice of the gratitude journal. At the end of your day, just before sleep, take a notebook dedicated to this single purpose. Your task is to write down 3 specific things that happened during the day for which you are grateful. The key to this practice is specificity. To simply write, "I am grateful for my family," is a nice thought, but it is a concept, and it is difficult for the heart to connect with a concept. Instead, you must seek out a specific moment. I am grateful for the way my son hugged me when I came home from work. I am grateful for the peaceful 10 minutes I had this morning to drink my coffee and look out the window before anyone else was awake. I am grateful for the unexpected kindness of the stranger who held the door for me when my hands were full. Specificity brings the memory to life. It allows you to re-experience the positive emotion associated with the event. This is not just a mental exercise, it is an emotional and somatic one. You are training your body to feel the sensation of abundance. This practice is a form of mental weight training. Each day, By forcing yourself to hunt for 3 specific positive things, you are exercising a new muscle. You are compelling your brain, the operator of the flashlight, to build a new neural pathway. You are retraining it to scan for beauty, for kindness, for grace. At first, it may feel difficult. On a hard day, you may struggle to find anything, but look closer. Were you grateful for the comfort of your bed, the hot water in your shower, the fact that your car started, the taste of a piece of fruit? Gratitude, when practiced with intention, reveals the astonishing baseline of privilege and grace we so often take for granted. As you continue, your brain becomes better at this new task. You begin to hunt for the good not just at the end of the day, but throughout the day. You start to notice things in real time. You find yourself thinking, this is something I will write in my journal tonight. You are transforming yourself from a problem-finding machine into a beauty-finding instrument. This is the great alchemy. The leaden feeling of lack, of life being a series of problems to be solved, begins to dissolve. In its place, a quiet, steady feeling of abundance begins to glow. You come to the profound realization that abundance is not a quantity to be acquired, but a quality to be cultivated. It has very little to do with what is in your bank account, and everything to do with what is in your heart. You could win the lottery and still live in a mindset of lack, terrified of losing your winnings. Or you could have very little and feel like the richest person on earth, overflowing with gratitude for the simple gifts of existence. This shift from lack to abundance is not just a change in your thoughts, it is a change in your entire feeling, state, your entire being. It is a fundamental shift in your energy. The chronic, low-level anxiety of the complaining mind gives way to the calm, warm resonance of the grateful heart. This feeling, this inner climate of appreciation, is more than just a pleasant emotion. It is a vibration. It is a frequency you are broadcasting into the universe. And when you change your fundamental frequency, you begin to perceive and attract a reality that is in harmony with it. You are no longer just a conscious gardener of your mind. You are becoming a conscious architect of your own energy. This leads us to the next great exploration, understanding the very currency of the cosmos. Having cultivated a heart of gratitude, you have fundamentally altered the climate of your inner world. The cold, gray fog of lack has begun to dissipate, revealing the warm, golden light of abundance. This feeling, this shift in your core state of being, is more than just a pleasant psychological effect. It is the key to understanding the very nature of reality and your power within it. We are now moving from the tangible world of thought and emotion into the subtler, more potent realm of energy. You are about to discover that your feelings are not just reactions to your life. They are the very currency that creates it. In our society, we are taught to manage the currencies of the material world. We learn to manage our time, our finances, our careers, and our possessions. We create budgets for our money and schedules for our days. But the universe operates on a much more fundamental currency, one that underpins all the others. This is the currency of energy, or vibration. From the ancient mystics who spoke of prana and chi, to the modern physicists who revealed that matter is simply energy vibrating at a certain frequency, a single truth echoes through the ages. Everything is energy. You are not a solid, static being. You are a dynamic, fluctuating field of energy, and your emotions are the conscious perception of your own vibration. The dense, heavy, slow vibrations feel like shame, fear, and grief. The light, expansive, fast vibrations feel like joy, love, and peace. Your emotional state is a direct indicator of the frequency you are currently holding. Imagine yourself as a powerful broadcasting tower, transmitting a signal into the universe 24 hours a day. This signal is not composed of your thoughts, which are often contradictory and chaotic. It is not composed of your words, which you so often use to conceal what you truly feel. The signal that the universe receives with perfect, unerring clarity is the signal of your core energetic state. It is the broadcast of your dominant feeling tone. You can tell the world you are fine. You can try to convince yourself that everything is okay. But if the broadcast humming from the core of your being is one of fear and lack, then fear and lack is the signal being sent. This is a radical departure from how we are taught to see ourselves. We believe we are passive observers moving through a solid, objective world. The truth is that we are active creators, constantly shaping our perception of reality and thus our experience of it with the energy we choose to embody. This understanding will likely create an inner conflict. Your rational mind, conditioned by a purely materialist worldview, will demand empirical proof. It will want to see this energy, to measure this frequency with a scientific instrument. It may label these ideas as wishful thinking or metaphysical nonsense. This skepticism is a natural function of the logical brain. But another part of you, a deeper, more intuitive part, recognizes this truth instantly because you have felt it your entire life. You have walked into a room just after an argument and felt the tension in the air. You have met a stranger and felt an immediate sense of warmth and ease, or a strange sense of caution for no logical reason. You talk about people having good vibes or bad vibes. This is not your imagination. This is your highly sophisticated energetic system perceiving the broadcast of another. The invitation here is to trust this intuitive knowing, to elevate it from the realm of vague suspicion to a primary tool of perception. You are being asked to trust the felt reality of your own experience over the limited arguments of your skeptical mind. Here is the principle that will become the new organizing principle for your life. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. This is a profound and often misunderstood clarification of the law of attraction. It is not a cosmic vending machine where you insert positive thoughts and receive material goods. It is a law of resonance. Like a tuning fork that will cause another tuning fork of the same pitch to vibrate without touching it, your energetic state will activate, resonate with, and draw into your awareness people, circumstances, and experiences that are a vibrational match. If you are broadcasting a frequency of frustration and resentment, you will become acutely aware of everything in your environment that is frustrating and unfair. You will attract and engage with other resentful people. Your reality will become a perfect mirror of your inner state. If you consciously cultivate and broadcast a frequency of peace and gratitude, you will begin to notice the peace and beauty that was always there. You will attract calm and graceful people. Your reality will reflect your inner peace. This is why the core message is this: manage your energy more carefully than you manage your money. Your money can be lost and recovered, but the energy you broadcast in this very moment is the raw material creating the next moment of your life. It is your ultimate creative power. To become a master of this new currency, you must first become aware of it. This calls for a new practice, the energy check in. Several times throughout your day, perhaps by setting a silent alarm on your phone, you will pause for just 30 seconds. Close your eyes, take one deep breath, and ask yourself, what is my current energy state? Don't try to find a complex psychological label for it. Simply feel it. Does it feel expansive, open, and light? Or does it feel contracted, tight, and heavy? There is no judgment here, only awareness. Then ask a second question. What is feeding this state? Is it a recurring thought? The environment you are in? The last conversation you had? The food you just ate? Become a detective of your own energy. Finally, ask a third question. What is one small thing I can do right now to consciously shift this energy in a positive direction? Perhaps it is as simple as taking another deep, conscious breath. Perhaps it is stretching your arms to the sky. Perhaps it is changing your thought to one of gratitude. Perhaps it is simply deciding to smile. You are learning to become an active, conscious manager of your own vibration. As you engage with this practice, your entire experience of life begins to shift. You cease to see yourself as a victim of random circumstances and moods. You realize that you are the energetic center of your own universe, and that the world is a relentless feedback loop, constantly showing you the quality of your own broadcast. This is not a punishment or a reward system. The universe is not judging you. It is simply a neutral mirror, reflecting your own energy back to you so that you can learn, so that you can see yourself more clearly. When you encounter a difficult situation, your primary question shifts from, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What energy within me is this situation reflecting?" This empowers you to stop trying to change the world outside an impossible task hand, to focus on the one thing you have absolute sovereignty over, your own inner state. You learn that by changing your vibration, you change the world you experience. This newfound understanding of yourself as a broadcasting tower, a field of vibrating energy, naturally leads to a final, profound conclusion. You are not transmitting your signal in a vacuum. You are one tower among billions, all broadcasting simultaneously. The airwaves are filled with a complex symphony of frequencies. We are all affecting each other all the time. Your calm, peaceful energy can literally soothe the agitated energy of a person near you without a word being spoken. The collective anxiety of a crowd can be felt as a palpable force. This means you are not, and have never been, separate. Your energy field is constantly mingling, interacting, and co-creating with every other energy field in existence. You are not an isolated island. You are a wave in a vast, interconnected ocean of consciousness. Understanding this truth is the key to dissolving the final illusion of the ego, the illusion of separation. You are ready to explore the reality of the invisible threads. Having awakened to the reality of yourself as a broadcasting tower of energy, you now stand at the precipice of an even more profound realization. You are not transmitting your signal into a void. You are broadcasting within a vast, living, and infinitely complex network of other signals. The very air around you, which appears empty, is in fact a dense and humming matrix of these intersecting energies. This leads us to the great dissolving of the ego's most cherished illusion, the illusion of separation. It is time to perceive the invisible threads that bind you to everything and everyone, and to understand that you are not a solitary note, but a single, indispensable chord in the grand symphony of existence. Imagine that the entire universe, from the farthest star to the smallest grain of sand, is an immense and intricate tapestry. It is woven from threads of light, of energy, of consciousness itself. Every living being, every plant, every animal, and every person is a single thread in this cosmic fabric. From your limited vantage point, you perceive only your own thread. You are aware of its color, its texture, its length. You may even be aware of the threads immediately next to yours, but you have been taught to believe that you are a separate, disconnected strand. The great spiritual traditions and the deepest insights of quantum physics, however, tell a different story. They reveal that every single thread is woven into every other thread. A gentle tug on the thread, that is, you sends a subtle vibration through the entire tapestry. The strength and beauty of the whole is utterly dependent on the integrity and connection of each individual part. You are not separate from the fabric. You are the fabric, experiencing itself from the perspective of a single thread. The primary function of the human ego is to create and maintain the illusion of separation. From infancy, it begins its work of division. It learns to say, "I and mine." It draws a line around your body and says, "This is me." It draws a line around your thoughts and says, "This is my mind." It draws a line around your possessions and says, "This is my property." This is a necessary function for navigating the three-dimensional world as an apparently separate organism. But over time, we over-identify with this function. We mistake the boundary line for our true nature. This belief in our own separateness is the root cause of the deepest human suffering. Loneliness is the pain of feeling cut off from the tapestry. Competition is the futile attempt to prove that your thread is more important or more beautiful than the others. Fear is the constant anxiety that your separate self is under threat from a world of others who are not you. This creates a deep and painful inner conflict. The ego, your conditioned self, desperately clings to its sense of specialness and individuality. It fears being absorbed, being lost in the whole. It fights for its survival, constantly reinforcing the boundaries between me and not me. But your soul, your deeper being, yearns for the opposite. It remembers its true nature. It remembers the feeling of being woven into the fabric of life. It longs for connection, for belonging, for union. The soul knows that what the ego fears as annihilation is, in fact, a glorious homecoming. The conflict you feel is the tension between the small, constructed identity you have learned and the vast, universal identity that you truly are. It is the fear a single drop of water feels just before it falls back into the ocean, not yet realizing that it is, and always has been, the ocean itself. Let this timeless wisdom settle into your heart. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. This is not just beautiful poetry. It is a description of reality. Within your consciousness lies the seed of the entire cosmos. The same intelligence that wields the galaxies and sprouts the acorn is looking out through your eyes at this very moment. And because you contain the whole, your every action affects the whole. Your thoughts are not private events occurring inside your skull. They are energetic ripples you send out through the invisible threads. Your feelings are not just your own business. They are colors you are adding to the collective masterpiece. When you cultivate peace in your own heart, you are contributing to the peace of the world in the most direct way possible. When you hold on to resentment, you are feeding the world's pain. There are no truly private acts. You are co-creating the entire tapestry with every breath you take. To make this profound truth an embodied experience, we can engage in a simple practice. It is the practice of anonymous kindness. Your task is to find an opportunity to do something good for another being, with the absolute certainty that you will receive no credit, no thanks, and no recognition for it. Perhaps you pay the toll for the car behind you and drive away. Perhaps you leave a generous tip for a waiter you will never see again. Perhaps you spend an hour picking up trash in a public park when no one is watching. Or perhaps you simply take a moment to send a genuine, heartfelt thought of well-being to a stranger you pass on the street. The key is the anonymity, for it starves the ego of its need for acknowledgement. The ego does good deeds to be seen as a good person. The soul does good deeds because it recognizes that there is no other. Helping the thread next to you is simply strengthening the part of the fabric where you both reside. As you perform this anonymous act, pay close attention to the feeling it generates within you. It is a clean, pure, and expansive joy. It is the feeling of acting in harmony with the truth of your interconnected nature. It is the joy of the ocean feeding one of its own drops. As you begin to live from this understanding, the world transforms before your very eyes. It ceases to be a cold, fragmented collection of competing individuals and reveals itself as a single, breathing, intelligent organism. Other people are no longer truly other. They are another expression of the same consciousness that animates you. Their pain, you realize, vibrates through the threads and touches you. Their joy lifts the entire fabric. Empathy becomes effortless. It is no longer a moral duty to be a good person, but a natural consequence of recognizing yourself in the eyes of another. The gnawing ache of existential loneliness begins to dissolve, not because you have found the perfect partner or social circle, but because you have found your rightful place in the cosmos. You belong everywhere because you are connected to everything. The desperate need to compete and prove yourself superior fades away, replaced by a desire to collaborate, to support, to lift up the threads around you, knowing that their strength is your strength. Fear of the other gives way to love, which is, in its purest form, the simple, conscious recognition of this profound and unbreakable unity. Now, From this place of absolute interconnectedness, let us consider the logical and inescapable consequences. If it is true that every thread is connected, then no action, no thought, no energetic broadcast can ever be an isolated event. Every movement you make, every vibration you emit, sends a ripple traveling out through the infinite web of existence. And because this web, this tapestry, is a unified, closed system, that ripple, that vibration, must eventually, in some form, from some direction, find its way back to its source. It must return to you. This is not a system of cosmic judgment from an external godlike figure. It is not about reward or punishment. It is simply the pure, impersonal, and elegant physics of an interconnected universe. It is the law of cause and effect operating on a cosmic scale. This is the true meaning of karma. It is the law of the harvest. Having embraced the profound truth of your interconnectedness, seeing yourself as a vital thread in the single tapestry of existence, you are now ready to understand the elegant and impersonal law that governs that tapestry. Because you are connected to everything, your actions are never isolated. They are causes that create inevitable effects, ripples that flow outward through the web and, in time, return to you. This is the great and often misunderstood law of karma. Before we proceed, we must strip away the layers of fear and superstition that cling to this word. Karma is not a cosmic system of reward and punishment. There is no celestial being keeping a tally of your good and bad deeds. The universe is not a courtroom, and you are not on trial. The universe is a field, and you are a farmer. Karma is simply the law of the harvest. For centuries, we have projected our human concepts of morality and judgment onto the universe, imagining karma as a punitive force, a cosmic parent waiting to discipline us for our transgressions. This misunderstanding creates fear. It makes us look over our shoulder, afraid of a past mistake catching up to us, as if it were a predator hunting us down. This is the ego's interpretation, born of its own guilt and fear. The truth is far more simple and infinitely more empowering. Karma is as impersonal and as reliable as the law of gravity. Gravity does not punish you for stepping off a cliff. It simply responds to your action with a natural and predictable consequence. So too, karma does not punish you for an act of anger or deceit. It simply returns to you the energetic consequence of the seed you have sown. It is a neutral law of energy, of cause and effect. Every moment of your life, you are standing in the vast, fertile field of your consciousness. And in every moment, you are planting seeds. Your actions are seeds. Your words are seeds. Even your thoughts and your deeply held emotional states are seeds. A thought of judgment is a seed. A word of encouragement is a seed. An act of generosity is a seed. A sustained feeling of resentment is a seed. The field of the universe is exquisitely fertile. It will grow whatever you plant within it, without judgment. It does not distinguish between a weed and a flower. It simply provides the conditions for growth. You cannot plant a field with thistle seeds and then, when the sharp thistles grow, fall to your knees and ask the universe why it is punishing you with such a painful harvest. The harvest is not a punishment. It is merely the mature expression of the seeds you chose to plant. This is where we confront a deep inner conflict. The ego's desire for impunity versus the soul's quiet understanding of accountability. The ego wants to get away with it. It wants to be able to plant seeds of gossip, anger, or selfishness, and somehow, through cleverness or luck, avoid the corresponding harvest. It lives in hope of a loophole in universal law. When negative consequences do arrive, the ego's first instinct is denial or blame, as we have already explored. It resists taking ownership of its own creation. This creates a state of internal warfare, a struggle against the unbreakable laws of reality. To accept the law of the harvest, on the other hand, is an act of profound spiritual maturity. It is to look upon your life in its entirety and have the courage to say, "This is the garden I have planted. The sweet fruits and the bitter herbs are all my own. This acceptance is the doorway to true power. For this is the core message of karma, the truth that transforms it from a source of fear into a tool of mastery. Karma is not a judge, it is a teacher. It doesn't punish you. It simply reflects your own energy back to you so that you can learn. The circumstances of your life are a perfect mirror. The difficult, painful situations are not a cosmic penalty. They are the harvest of bitter seeds you once planted, perhaps unknowingly. Their purpose is not to make you suffer, but to make you so exquisitely aware of the bitterness of the fruit that you finally choose to stop planting the seed. If you consistently experience betrayal, karma is not punishing you. It is inviting you to examine the seeds of dishonesty or self-betrayal within yourself. If you consistently experience financial lack, karma is inviting you to examine your inner seeds of scarcity consciousness or careless action. The question to ask when faced with a difficult harvest is not, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "What is the nature of the seed that created this, and what is it teaching me?" Let us make this process of learning a conscious practice. This is the causal chain review. It must be undertaken with the mindset of a compassionate scientist, not a harsh critic. Choose a recurring, challenging pattern in your current life. Let us say it is a persistent feeling of loneliness. Now, with gentle curiosity, trace this feeling backward in time. Without blaming anyone, especially not yourself, simply look for the seeds. Perhaps you find seeds of closing yourself off from others out of fear of being hurt. Perhaps you find seeds of subtle judgment that push people away. Perhaps you find seeds of not being a good friend to yourself, creating an inner state of isolation that then gets projected outward. You follow the chain back, not to whip yourself for your past mistakes, but simply to see the connection. You realize this pattern of thought, this habit of behavior, is the seed that grows the fruit of loneliness. I see it now. In that moment of clear seeing, without judgment, you gain power. The unconscious pattern has been made conscious. You have learned the lesson the harvest was sent to teach you. This understanding is the ultimate liberation from fear. If you are the farmer who plants the seeds, then at any moment, you can choose to plant a different crop. You are not doomed by your past. Your past has created your present, yes. The harvest you are reaping today is from seeds planted yesterday, last week, last year, a decade ago. That cannot be changed. But your future is being created right now, in this very moment, by the seeds you are choosing to plant in the soil of the present. This is where your absolute power lies. The fear of bad karma dissolves, replaced by a profound sense of responsibility, the ability to respond consciously. You realize that the most potent way to clear the karmic debts of the past is to start planting overwhelmingly positive seeds in the present. You plant seeds of kindness, forgiveness, and generosity. You plant them not as a transactional way to earn good karma, but as a natural expression of your understanding of this law. You know that a harvest of kindness can only come from a seed of kindness. And so, the law of the harvest, once a source of dread, becomes your greatest ally. It is the ultimate tool for conscious creation. It assures you that the universe is not random or chaotic, but exquisitely ordered and just. It guarantees that no good deed, no kind thought, no act of courage is ever wasted. It will, in its own time and in its own way, bear fruit. It also assures you that you can no longer live in the delusion that your negative actions have no consequences. This knowledge simplifies your life immensely. It provides you with a clear and simple compass for every choice. Will this seed lead to a harvest I wish to reap? This profound law illuminates a single point in time as the nexus of all power. The past is gone, its seeds have been sown, and its harvest is arriving. The future is an illusion, a potential field not yet planted. The only place you have any agency, the only moment you can choose a new seed and plant it in the soil of existence, is right here, right now. All of your power to change your life to alter the course of your karmic trajectory is contained in this singular, precious, and powerful moment. You are now standing at the threshold of understanding that this moment is not just a fleeting tick of the clock. It is the only thing that is real. It is the eternal gateway to all that is, was, or ever will be. You are ready to step out of the stream of time and into the ocean of the eternal now. Having come to understand the great law of the harvest, you now hold the key to your own future. You know that the seeds you plant in this moment will determine the reality you experience tomorrow. This realization places an immense and sacred importance on the present moment, for it is the only soil in which a new seed can be sown. We are now about to explore the most profound and life-altering truth of this entire journey, that this present moment is not just a fleeting instant on a timeline between a past and a future. It is the only thing that has ever been real. It is the eternal stage upon which all of life unfolds. To awaken to this truth is to escape the self-made prison of time. Imagine your mind is a pendulum, suspended from a single silent point. For most of your life, this pendulum has been swinging wildly, ceaselessly. It swings back, deep into the hazy mists of the past. There, it replays old grievances, relives past hurts, and endlessly analyzes what you should have said or done differently. It carries the immense phantom weight of regret. Then, just as compulsively, it swings forward into the dense fog of the future. There, it rehearses imaginary conflicts, worries about 1,000 potential disasters, and chases the fleeting promise of a happiness that is always just around the corner. Back and forth, back and forth. From regret to anxiety, from memory to anticipation. The tragedy of this relentless motion is that the pendulum almost never comes to rest at the one place where all its power originates, the still, silent, potent center point of its swing. This silent center is the eternal now. Most human suffering is a disease of time. It is a form of self-inflicted torment created by a mind that refuses to live where life is actually happening. Consider the nature of your own pain. When you feel resentment, you are not suffering from the past event itself. That event is over. It no longer exists. You are suffering from the memory, the story, the thoughts you are generating about that event right now. You are allowing a ghost to poison your present moment. When you feel anxiety, you are not suffering from a future event. That event has not happened and may never happen. You are suffering from your own imagination, from a mental projection you are creating right now. You are being terrorized by a mirage. In both cases, the suffering is not caused by reality, but by your mind's compulsive flight from reality, its addiction to the phantom worlds of psychological time. This creates the fundamental inner conflict that governs the life of an unconscious person. The mind's addictive need to escape the present moment versus the simple, profound reality that life only ever exists in the present moment. Your mind believes that it must constantly ruminate on the past to learn from it, and constantly project into the future to control it. It treats the now as an inconvenience, a mere stepping stone to get to a more important future moment where happiness or resolution will finally be found. But this future moment never arrives, because when it does, it arrives as another, now, and the mind, in its habitual restlessness, has already abandoned it for the next future. The mind resists the present because in the pure, unadulterated reality of the now, its dramas cannot survive. A problem needs time to exist. It needs the past for its grievance, and the future for its fear. In the simple, sensory reality of this exact instant, before you add a label or a story to it, where is the problem? The conflict is between the mind's addiction to its own drama and the deep, liberating peace of what is. This is the message that will shatter the walls of your prison. The past is a ghost, the future is a mirage. Only the now is real. The gateway to freedom is nowhere else but here. The entire history of your life has taken place in a series of now moments. Your entire future will unfold in a series of now moments. You have never lived, and you will never live in any time other than now. To be lost in thought about the past or future is to be, in a very real sense, asleep to your own life. It is to leak your precious, finite life force into illusion. Your power to act, your power to choose, your power to experience joy, your power to feel alive exists only in this instant. To reclaim your life is to reclaim the now. Let us turn this profound concept into a simple, immediate practice. This is not a formal meditation, but a rapid tool for pattern interruption. It is the practice of anchoring in the senses. The very next time you catch yourself being hijacked by the mind lost in a spiral of worry about the future or a loop of regret about the past, you will immediately anchor your awareness in the physical reality of the present. Choose one of your 5 senses and bring your entire, undivided attention to it. If you choose touch, feel the sensation of your feet planted firmly on the floor. Feel the texture of the carpet or the coolness of the tile. Feel the precise pressure and weight, or feel the air on your skin. Is it cool or warm? Is it still or moving? If you choose hearing, then listen. Listen not just to the dominant sounds, but to all the layers of sound around you, as if you were a sensitive microphone. Hear the distant traffic, the hum of an appliance, the sound of your own quiet breathing. Do not label the sounds, simply receive the vibrations. If you choose sight, pick one object in your field of vision and truly see it for the first time. Look at a plant, a cup, or your own hand. Observe its colors, its textures, its shape, the way the light falls upon it. In that moment of pure, intense sensory perception, psychological time collapses. Anxiety and regret cannot coexist with this level of presence. You have yanked your consciousness out of the phantom world of thought and grounded it in the undeniable reality of the present moment. As you practice this anchoring technique whenever you remember, you begin to carve new pathways in your brain. You create gaps in the incessant stream of compulsive thinking. In these gaps of silence, you find peace. You begin to realize, on an experiential level, that almost all of your problems are mind-made and time-dependent. When you are not actively thinking about your problem, does it exist? When you are fully absorbed in the feeling of the sun on your skin, where is the anxiety? It is nowhere, because it was never anything more than a thought form. This does not mean you become irresponsible. You can still learn from the past and plan for the future, but you do so from a place of presence. You use clock time as a practical tool to set an appointment or review a mistake, but you no longer live in the prison of psychological time. You deal with the past and future when necessary, and then you return your attention to where life is, here. Your life stops being a constant dress rehearsal for a future happiness that never comes. The main event is now. This breath, this moment, this is your life. This new state of presence has a powerful side effect. When you are no longer deafened by the relentless inner monologue about yesterday and tomorrow, your awareness becomes extraordinarily subtle and sharp. You are quiet inside. You are receptive. Your senses are open. Your intuition is no longer drowned out by the noise of mental chatter. You have, through the practice of inhabiting the now, created the necessary internal conditions to perceive the finer, more delicate signals that reality is always sending you. You cannot hear a whisper in the middle of a rock concert. You had to leave the concert of your own mind to be able to perceive something more subtle. You are now standing in the quiet field of the present moment, and you are finally ready to hear the gentle, guiding whispers of the universe. Having stepped out of the prison of psychological time, you now stand in the clean, quiet, and potent space of the eternal now. Your mind, no longer frantically swinging between the ghosts of the past and the phantoms of the future, has settled. The inner noise has subsided. And in this newfound stillness, you have created the perfect condition to perceive a level of reality that was previously inaccessible to you. You are now able to hear the whispers. You are ready to learn the subtle symbolic language of the universe, and to realize that you are not, and have never been, walking this path alone. Life is not a monologue, it is a conversation, and it is your turn to listen. We are conditioned to expect guidance to arrive in loud, dramatic, and unmistakable forms. We want the heavens to part, a booming voice to give us a 5-point plan, a sign so obvious it cannot be denied. But the universe, in its infinite subtlety and grace, does not operate that way. It does not shout to be heard over the noise of our own minds. It waits patiently for us to become quiet, and then it whispers. It speaks a language of symbols, of patterns, of meaningful coincidence, and of quiet, inner knowing. It speaks the language of synchronicity. Imagine the intelligence of the universe is like the wind. You cannot see the wind itself. You cannot grasp it in your hands or prove its existence in a vacuum. And yet, you can see its effects everywhere. You see it in the rustling of the leaves on a tree, in the ripples across the surface of a lake, in the direction a flag is blowing, in the feeling of its cool breath on your skin. You don't need to see the wind to know that it is present and which way it is flowing. You simply need to pay attention to the world around you. The synchronicities and signs in your life are the rustling of the leaves. They are the visible evidence of the invisible wind of cosmic intelligence, showing you which way the current of your life is flowing. This is where you will encounter a powerful inner conflict. It is the battle between the rational, skeptical mind and the intuitive, knowing heart. You have a pressing question on your mind, and you open a book to a random page, and the exact phrase you need to read leaps out at you. The rational mind, educated in a world that worships logic and dismisses mystery, will immediately label this as mere coincidence. It will explain it away as a statistical anomaly, a trick of the brain's pattern recognition software. It will tell you not to be foolish, not to read meaning into a random event. But your heart, your deeper self, will feel a shiver of recognition. It will feel a quiet, resonant yes. It will know, on a level beyond logic, that the message was for you. You think of a friend you haven't spoken to in a decade, and that very afternoon, you bump into them in a city far from home. Your mind says, "What a fluke." Your soul says, "Pay attention." The conflict is a choice of which inner counsel you will trust. The limited logical mind that needs everything to be explainable, or the boundless intuitive heart that is comfortable with magic and mystery. Here is the truth that will tune your inner ear to this subtle frequency. The universe is always speaking to you, but it doesn't shout. It whispers. You must be quiet enough to hear it. The spiritual work you have already done, of witnessing the narrator, of cutting the anchor of blame, of standing before the mirror, of healing your scars, and of inhabiting the no was not just for your own peace of mind. It was the necessary preparation. It was the act of cleaning the static from your inner radio so you could finally tune into the broadcast that has been playing all along. The guidance was always there. The signs were always present. You were simply too preoccupied with the deafening noise of your own inner drama to notice them. To cultivate this new perception, we will adopt a new practice. You will become a collector of whispers, a cataloger of magic. You will keep a synchronicity journal. This notebook is separate from your other journals. It is your logbook of the miraculous. In it, you will record the seemingly small, inexplicable events that your rational mind is so quick to dismiss. Did you keep seeing the same number sequence over and over again? Write it down. Did you have a dream that seemed to carry a significant message? Write it down. Did a song come on the radio with lyrics that answered a question you had just been pondering? Write it down. Record the serendipitous encounter, the book that fell off the shelf, the stranger's conversation you overheard that contained the perfect piece of wisdom. Record the event itself, and just as importantly, record the feeling it produced in you, that shiver of recognition, that sense of wonder, that feeling of being seen. Do not try to analyze or interpret it immediately. Simply honor it by giving it your attention and recording its existence. The power of this practice lies in its accumulation. A single coincidence is easy to dismiss, but a journal filled with dozens of them recorded over weeks and months, becomes a body of evidence that is undeniable, even to your own inner skeptic. As you review your journal, you will begin to see clear patterns emerge. You will see how the universe was nudging you in a certain direction, how it was sending you recurring themes and symbols, how it was trying to get your attention. You are building a bridge of trust between your conscious mind and the guiding intelligence of life. You are learning the unique, symbolic language that the universe is using to speak directly to you. As you engage with life in this new way, your relationship to it is fundamentally transformed. It ceases to be a cold, mechanical, and random series of events. It becomes a living, breathing conversation, a dance. You feel a profound sense of companionship on your journey. You are no longer a lonely soul trying to figure everything out with your own limited intellect. You are a partner, co-creating with a vast and benevolent intelligence. A sense of wonder returns to your life. The world becomes enchanted once more, alive with meaning and mystery. You walk through your days with a new sense of curiosity, asking, "What message is life sending me today?" You learn to trust the process, to relax into the flow, knowing that you are being guided, supported, and loved in ways you are only just beginning to perceive. But this raises a crucial question. The signs, the whispers, the synchronicities appear in the external world. How do you interpret them? How do you know if a specific event is a meaningful sign or just a random occurrence? The answer is that the final and most important part of this communication system is not external but internal. The universe sends the signal, but you are the receiver. And the verification of the signal comes as a feeling, a resonance, a quiet knowing deep within your own being. It is a feeling of rightness, of clarity, of peace. This internal receiver, this instrument that can feel the truth of a sign and distinguish it from noise, is your own intuition. It is the compass of your soul. To hear the whispers of the universe is one thing. To trust the inner compass that interprets them is the final key to navigating your path. You must now learn to trust this instrument above all others. Having learned to listen for the subtle whispers of the universe, the meaningful coincidences and signs that light your path, you now arrive at the most vital component of this divine communication. The universe can send you all the signs in the world, but they are like letters written in a language you cannot read unless you possess the key, the decoder. That decoder is not external. It does not exist in a book or a teacher. It is an instrument you were born with, a flawless, internal guidance system that lies waiting to be reclaimed. It is the compass of your soul, your intuition. We live in a world that has systematically taught us to distrust this compass. Our entire education and social conditioning is a monument to the authority of the external. We are taught to trust the data, the expert, the logical argument, the pro and con list, the consensus of the group. We are told to be reasonable, to think it through, to silence the irrational, unexplainable feelings that bubble up from a deeper place. We have been trained to navigate our lives using only a map. The map is your rational mind. It is a wonderful and useful tool. It is constructed from the known facts, the data you have gathered, the experiences of others, and the logical conclusions you can draw from them. The map can show you the well-trodden highways, the cities built by others, the dangers that have been previously marked. But the map has a fundamental limitation. It is always, and only, a representation of the past. It shows you where others have been. It cannot and will not show you the unique path that is yours alone to walk. Your intuition is the compass. It does not provide a detailed map. It does not explain its reasoning. It does one thing, and it does it perfectly. It points north. It points in the direction of your soul's highest alignment. It operates in the living, breathing, present moment. It is your direct connection to the same universal intelligence that sends the whispers and the signs. A wise traveler learns to use both the map and the compass. They consult the map of reason to understand the terrain. But when the fog rolls in, when the map is outdated, or when they feel a deep, inexplicable pull to venture off the marked road, they trust the compass above all else. We have been taught to throw away our compass and spend our lives staring at the map, wondering why we feel so lost. This creates a constant inner conflict, a battle between your head and your heart, your mind and your gut. Imagine you are offered a job. The map of your mind is ecstatic. The salary is excellent. The title is prestigious. Your family is impressed. The logical pros far outweigh the cons. Your mind constructs a flawless argument. You must take this job. It is the sensible thing to do. You would be a fool to refuse. But as you sit with the decision, you feel a strange sensation in your body. A subtle, quiet heaviness. A feeling of contraction in your chest or a knot in your stomach. There are no words, no reasons, just a quiet, persistent, physical feeling of no. This is your compass speaking. And so the war begins. The loud, articulate voice of your mind screams at the silent, non-verbal wisdom of your body. You're just scared, the mind insists. You're self-sabotaging. This feeling makes no sense. The intuition doesn't argue. It doesn't need to. It simply holds its position. The great test of your spiritual maturity is which voice you will choose to obey. Here is the key to understanding this subtle language. Your intuition doesn't speak in words. It speaks in feelings. A quiet sense of rightness or a constricted feeling of wrongness. It is the language of the soul. It is a somatic, physical intelligence. A decision that is aligned with your soul's path will feel expansive. You may feel a sense of warmth, openness, lightness, a quiet excitement, a feeling of yes that resonates through your entire body. A decision that is out of alignment will feel contractive. You may feel a subtle dread, a heaviness, a tightness in your gut, an inexplicable sense of unease. Your mind may not understand why. It may have 100 reasons why the decision is a good one. But your body knows. Your soul's compass is giving you a clear reading. The work is not to understand the reading, but simply to trust it. Trust in this faculty is a muscle. It has likely atrophied from years of neglect, but you can build it back, stronger than ever. You will begin with a simple, low-stakes practice. The intuition test, drive. You must build confidence in your compass with small decisions before you can trust it with life-altering ones. So, you will practice in the gymnasium of everyday life. When you sit down at a restaurant, put the menu aside for a moment, close your eyes, quiet your mind, and ask your body, what would truly nourish me right now? Scan the options and feel for the one that gives you a subtle spark of yes before your mind can interfere with its calculations of price or calories. When you are deciding which book to read or which film to watch, don't read reviews. Stand before your options and feel which one seems to gently pull you toward it. When you go for a walk, let your intuition lead the way. At each intersection, pause and feel which direction your body wants to turn. Let go of purpose and destination and simply follow the inner pull. As you engage in this playful practice, you begin to re-establish the connection. You start to recognize the specific physical sensation of your own inner yes and your own inner no. You will find that the meal your intuition chose was exactly what your body needed. The book it picked contained the precise wisdom you were looking for. The aimless walk it led you on brought you past a beautiful hidden garden you never knew existed. You are gathering evidence. You are building a case file of success stories that you can present to your own inner skeptic. You are proving to yourself, through direct experience, that this inner compass is not random or foolish. It is a source of profound and reliable wisdom. As this self-trust grows, the way you move through the world changes. The agonizing stress of decision-making begins to dissolve. You still use your rational mind, your map, to gather information and assess the landscape. But the ultimate decision comes from a place of deep, quiet, inner knowing. You learn to bring the data to the altar of your intuition and wait for the feeling of yes or no. Life becomes less of a mental struggle and more of a fluid dance. You find yourself in the right place at the right time more often, not because you are lucky, but because you are guided. You are aligning yourself with the same deep intelligence that whispers in the signs and synchronicities. You are no longer just listening to the wind, you are allowing your own sail to be moved by it. But what happens when you commit to following this compass, and this compass alone? The map shows the established highways, the safe and predictable routes that millions of others travel. Your compass, however, might point you directly away from the highway. It might lead you down a small, unmarked country lane. It might lead you into a dense forest where there is no path at all. To trust your intuition is to accept that your journey will be uniquely your own. It will not look like the journey of your parents, your friends, or your colleagues. You must be willing to let go of the need for external validation, the need for your choices to make sense to anyone but you. You must be willing to walk your own pathless path. Having learned to trust the silent, unerring needle of your inner compass, you must now face the profound and liberating consequence of that trust. The compass of your soul rarely points down the well-paved, brightly lit superhighways of convention. It does not lead you to the crowded, predictable destinations that society has deemed worthy. More often than not, it points you toward a quiet, unassuming trail leading away from the noise. It leads you into the deep, untamed forest of your own authenticity. And in this forest, there are no paths. There is only the path you create with each step you take. This is the pathless path, the sacred journey of embracing your own unique unfolding. Imagine the world as a vast, dense forest. Through this forest, society has constructed a number of major highways. There is the highway of a specific career path, with clear signposts for promotions and retirement. There is the highway of traditional relationships, with prescribed milestones for courtship, marriage, and family. These highways are efficient. They are safe. They are filled with other travelers, and their company provides a sense of security and normalcy. To be on the highway is to feel that you are on the right track, that you are making progress, that you are normal. But as you have learned to quiet your mind and listen to your soul, you have begun to feel a deep and persistent pull to take the next exit, to venture into the quiet, mysterious woods that have always lined the edges of your journey. This call is both terrifying and exhilarating. Our deep-seated fear of leaving the highway is a primal one. It is the fear of the tribe turning its back on us. Since the dawn of our species, survival has been synonymous with belonging. To be cast out of the group, to be left alone in the wilderness, was a death sentence. This ancient fear still runs in our blood. It manifests today as the fear of disappointing our parents, the fear of being judged by our peers, the dread of falling behind our friends on the established timelines of life. We scroll through the curated highlight reels of other people's journeys on the highway. The engagements, the promotions, the new homesand, we compare them to the messy, uncertain, behind-the-scenes reality of our own slow, winding walk into the woods. This comparison is the most toxic poison to the soul. It creates the illusion that you are lost, when in fact, you are simply on a path that has not yet been paved. This is the great inner conflict you must now resolve, the profound human need for acceptance and belonging versus the non-negotiable call of your own authentic self. It is a battle between conformity and soul. The voice of the highway is loud, logical, and backed by a chorus of millions. It says, "This is how it's done. This is what a successful life looks like. Don't be foolish. Don't risk your security. Come back to the safety of the crowd." The voice of your soul, your compass, does not argue. It simply pulls. It is a quiet, steady, magnetic force, drawing you toward a future that only you can feel. To ignore this pull is to live a life of quiet desperation, a safe but soul-crushing existence on a road that is not your own. To follow it is to claim your own life, but it may require you to walk alone for a time, misunderstood by those who cannot comprehend why anyone would willingly leave the safety of the known. Here is the truth that will give you the courage to take that first step into the trees. Your path does not exist on any map. You create it with each step you take. Do not compare your journey to anyone else's. Their path is not your path. You cannot be ahead or behind on a trail that only you can forge. The very idea of being lost is an illusion. You are not lost. You are a trailblazer, an explorer. Your life is not a race to a predetermined finish line. It is a creative act. You are a pioneer, and your sacred task is to clear the brush, navigate the terrain, and bring a new, unique path into existence through the simple, courageous act of living your truth. But how do you navigate in a forest with no trail? You have your compass, your intuition, which gives you your direction. But you also need a set of guiding principles for the journey. You need to know what you stand for. This is the practice of identifying your core values. Your values are your personal stars, the fixed points in the sky by which you navigate when the ground beneath you is uncertain. Take some time now, in a quiet moment, to reflect. What matters most to you, at the deepest level of your being? Is it freedom, creativity, connection, integrity, peace, adventure, service? Make a list of all the qualities that feel essential to a life well lived. Now, distill that list down to the 3 to 5 values that are truly non-negotiable for you. These are the pillars of your soul. Write them down. Memorize them. They are your new decision-making framework. From this day forward, when faced with a choice, you will no longer ask, "What is the sensible thing to do?" or "What will others think?" You will ask, "Which choice is most in alignment with my core value of freedom? Which path honors my commitment to integrity?" Your values become your internal government, freeing you from the tyranny of external opinion. As you begin to live in this way, making small and large choices based on the dual guidance of your intuitive compass and your core values, a remarkable transformation occurs. The initial fear of being alone in the woods begins to fade, replaced by the quiet exhilaration of the explorer. You discover hidden clearings, breathtaking vistas, and sources of nourishment that are completely invisible from the highway. Your life takes on a quality of magic and synchronicity, because you are now in harmony with your own true nature and the deeper flow of the universe. You stop looking for validation from the people on the highway, because you are nourished by a profound and unshakable self-respect, earned by the courage to be yourself. The deep loneliness you feared is revealed to be a misconception. The feeling of being separate on the highway was, in fact, a deeper kind of loneliness, the loneliness of a soul that is not at home. In the quiet solitude of your own path, you discover a deeper connection, a connection to your own soul, to the natural world around you, and to the silent, guiding intelligence of the universe. You realize that the goal was never to arrive at a certain destination, but to fully engage in the sacred process of creating the path itself. The journey becomes the destination. But this journey of the trailblazer requires a different kind of strength. The rigid, unyielding strength of the forge, of discipline, was essential to give you the will to step off the highway. But in the unpredictable wilderness, that same rigidity can become a liability. You will encounter great obstacles on your pathless path. A fallen ancient tree blocks your way. A swift and deep river cuts across your trail. The instinct of the forge is to try and smash through these obstacles with sheer force and willpower. But this will only lead to exhaustion and defeat. To navigate this new terrain, you need a different kind of power. You need the strength not of stone, but of water. You must learn to be fluid, adaptive, and resilient. You must learn the wisdom of yielding, the power of flow. Having embraced the courage of the trailblazer, you are now forging your own path through the untamed wilderness of your authentic life. The steel of your discipline has given you the strength to begin. But as you journey deeper, you find that the terrain is unpredictable. You encounter obstacles that your rigid will cannot simply smash through. A great boulder of circumstance blocks your way. A deep river of unexpected change cuts across your trail. The instinct of the forge, the instinct of steel, is to meet force with force. But this only leads to exhaustion and the shattering of your own resolve. To navigate this wild and fluid landscape, you must now cultivate a new, more profound kind of strength. You must complement the fire of the forge with the wisdom of water. Our culture worships a strength that is hard, defiant, and unyielding. We are taught to be rock solid, to build walls around our hearts, to be like iron in our convictions. We admire the mountain that stands firm against the wind, the steel that does not bend. But this is an adolescent understanding of power. For the mountain is slowly worn down by the wind, and the unbending steel, when met with a superior force, shatters into useless fragments. There is another kind of strength, a power so subtle and profound that it is often mistaken for weakness. It is the strength of water. Water is the softest of all things, yet it overcomes the hardest. It is formless, yet it can take any form. It yields, yet it is unconquerable. This is the strength your soul is now calling you to embody. The mind that has been forged in discipline alone is like ice. It is structured, crystalline, and strong. It can bear great weight, but it is also brittle. When life delivers a sudden, sharp, impacting, unexpected job loss, a sudden illness, a heartbreaking betrayal, mind of ice shatters. The rigid identity, the carefully constructed life plan, breaks apart, leading to a crisis of meaning and a sense of being completely broken. The mind that has learned the wisdom of water is different. It is fluid. When it meets an obstacle, it does not confront it with rigid opposition. It yields, it flows, it adapts. It surrounds the obstacle, seeps beneath it, or patiently, gently, wears it away over eons. Water's essence is never broken, only its form is temporarily changed. This is the nature of true resilience. This reveals a deep inner conflict, the ego's attachment to a fixed identity versus the fluid, ever-changing reality of life. The ego loves to define itself. I am a successful entrepreneur. I am a healthy person. I am a patient mother. These identities are like containers made of ice. They provide a sense of shape and solidity. But what happens when your business fails? What happens when your body gets sick? What happens when you lose your patience with your child? The container of your identity shatters, and you are thrown into a crisis. You rage against reality, screaming, "This isn't me. This shouldn't be happening." You are trying to force the flowing river of life back into the shape of your frozen, static container. The conflict is between your rigid attachment to who you think you are and the gentle invitation of life to become who you need to be in this moment. Here is the message that will help you to thaw. Be like water, soft enough to flow around obstacles, powerful enough to erode rock. Your form may change, but your essence remains. To be like water is to release the desperate need for your life to look a certain way. It is to understand that your circumstances are merely the riverbed that gives you your current shape, but they are not your fundamental nature. You are not the river, you are not the lake, you are not the puddle, you are not the ice, you are the water itself, and water is, by its very nature, adaptable. To embrace this is to find a strength that cannot be broken, for that which has no fixed form cannot be shattered. Let us translate this profound philosophy into a practical tool for navigating life's challenges. This is the practice of the water mindset. The next time you encounter an obstacle, a difficult colleague, a creative block, an unexpected billiard-conditioned mind, the mind of stone and steel will immediately want to push against it. It will want to argue, to fight, to resist. In that moment of tension, pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself this transformative question: if I were water, how would I approach this? The question itself changes your brain chemistry. It shifts you from a confrontational, linear mode of thinking into a creative, fluid, and holistic one. Would water try to smash the boulder of your difficult colleague? Number, it would find the path of least resistance, flowing around them without friction. Would water panic at the great dam of your creative block? Number, it would patiently and peacefully gather its resources, rising and rising until it could spill over the top with effortless grace. Could it seep through the tiniest cracks of the problem? Could it freeze and expand, breaking it apart from within? Could it simply be still, becoming a clear pool that reflects the sky, waiting for the right moment to move? This single question unlocks a universe of creative solutions that were invisible to the mind of rigid resistance. As you begin to apply this mindset, an immense burden of stress lifts from your shoulders. The exhausting work of constantly fighting reality is over. You stop seeing obstacles as personal insults from the universe and begin to see them as neutral features of the landscape, challenges to be navigated with skill and grace. A deep and abiding trust in your own resilience begins to grow. You are no longer afraid of the unexpected turns of the river, because you know that you have the inherent capacity to adapt to any new shape. Your life, once a series of rigid positions to be defended, becomes a graceful, flowing dance. But this raises a final, fundamental question. What is the secret to water's power? How is it so effortlessly adaptable, so perfectly yielding, yet so unconquerable? The secret is this: water has no ego. It has no fixed idea of itself that it needs to defend. It does not cling to its identity as ice when the sun comes out. It does not mourn its form as a river when it finally merges with the ocean. It does not believe it is superior as a powerful wave and inferior as a humble drop of dew. It simply is, and in that pure state of being, it is free to become whatever the moment requires. Our rigidity, our brittleness, our suffering, all stem from one source: our fierce attachment to our own ego, the story of me and mine. The stone-like personality we have built is what shatters against the rocks of life. To fully attain the supreme, effortless power of water, we must be willing to let that stone self dissolve. We must face the ultimate spiritual challenge and the ultimate liberation, the journey of the dissolving self. You have learned the wisdom of water, the supreme power of yielding and adaptability. You have discovered that water's grace comes from its ability to take any form, to flow without resistance. And this raises the most profound question of our journey: what is it within us that resists? What is the hard, brittle, and frozen part of our consciousness that refuses to flow, the part that shatters against the rocks of reality? The answer is the self. Not your true self, but the self you think you are, the ego. To attain the final degree of freedom, to truly embody the effortless power of water, we must now undertake the most courageous journey of all. We must be willing to witness the gentle and liberating dissolution of the ego self. Let us be clear, the ego is not an enemy to be vanquished. It is not a villain to be destroyed. It is a tool, a necessary and beautiful construct that allows your infinite consciousness to have a unique, localized experience in this world. Your ego is a bundle of thoughts, memories, beliefs, and roles. It is your name, your history, your job title, your relationships. It is the story of me. It created a center point, a sense of I, so that you could navigate the world of form. The problem does not lie with the tool itself, but in a case of mistaken identity. You have spent your entire life believing that you are the tool. You believe you are the story. The path to liberation is the gentle realization that you are not the story, but the one who is reading it. Imagine your true nature, your boundless consciousness, is the vast, open, and luminous sky. It is eternal, unchanging, and limitless. Your thoughts, your feelings, your sensations, and the entire story of your personal self, your ego are like clouds that drift through this sky. For your whole life, you have been fixated on one particular cloud formation. You have pointed to it and said, "That one, that is me." You have obsessed over its shape, its color, its movement. You have rejoiced when it was white and fluffy, and despaired when it grew dark and stormy. You have lived in terror of the day it might dissipate and disappear. The Great Awakening, the ultimate freedom, is to shift your identification from the transient cloud to the eternal sky. It is the realization that you are not the fleeting weather pattern of your personality, but the vast, silent, and peaceful expanse of awareness in which all weather comes and goes. The sky is never harmed by the storm. This is the deepest and most subtle inner conflict. It is the battle between the ego's primal fear of annihilation and the soul's serene knowledge of its own immortality. When the ego hears talk of dissolving the self or no self, it panics. It interprets this as a threat of death, of ceasing to exist. It will fight with all its might to preserve its own sense of being a separate, solid entity. It will generate a storm of fearful thoughts. If I am not my story, then who am I? I will become nothing. I will lose everything that makes me, me. This is the cloud's terror of its own dissolution. But the soul knows a different truth. It knows that the dissolution of the ego is not an end, but a glorious expansion. It is the end of the cramped prison cell of the small self. It is the liberation of realizing that your true identity is the entire sky. It is the joy of the wave realizing it is not separate from the ocean. The conflict is between the fear of becoming nothing and the joy of realizing you are everything. This is the core realization that sets you free. You are not your labels, your roles, or your story. You are the conscious space in which all of those things appear and disappear. You are not your anger. You are the silent, spacious awareness that notices the feeling of anger arising. You are not a failure. You are the boundless consciousness that witnesses the thought, I am a failure, drift by like a dark cloud. The anger, the thought, the story, these are events in your consciousness. You are the consciousness itself. The container is never defined or damaged by its contents. The sky is not made sad by a gray cloud, nor is it made joyful by a brilliant sunset. It is simply the space that allows for all of it. To realize this is to find a peace that cannot be disturbed by the turbulent weather of life. Let us now anchor this profound shift with a simple, moment-to-moment practice. It is the practice of conscious disidentification. It is a subtle but powerful change in your inner language. When a strong emotion arises, such as fear, your lifelong habit is to collapse into it and say, I am afraid. In this statement, you have completely merged your identity with the passing emotion. The practice is to insert a tiny wedge of awareness. Instead, you will state inwardly, I am aware of a feeling of fear arising within me. Can you feel the difference? In the second statement, you are the aware presence, and the fear is an object, an event that you are observing. When a powerful thought pattern takes hold, such as I am not good enough, instead of identifying with it, you will reframe it. I am aware of the thought that I am not good enough is currently playing in my mind. You are no longer the actor lost in the drama, you are the silent audience watching the play. Each time you do this, you withdraw your belief and your identity from the egoic thought form. You are gently loosening its grip. You are remembering that you are the sky, not the cloud. As you practice this, your relationship with yourself and the world undergoes a radical transformation. When you are no longer defending the fragile, constructed fortress of a personal ego, you become fearless. What is there to be afraid of? An insult cannot harm the sky. A failure cannot diminish the sky. Even physical death is seen not as an end, but as the final dissolution of a temporary cloud, a return of form to the formless. You can engage with life more fully, more playfully, more courageously, because your sense of self-worth is no longer on the line in every interaction. You stop taking things so personally, because you realize that most of what people react to is not you, but their own ego's projections. The frantic, lifelong search for validation and approval from others begins to cease. The ego is a bottomless pit of neediness. It constantly requires external praise to reinforce its sense of self. The sky needs no validation. It is complete in and of itself. This brings a profound sense of inner peace and self-sufficiency. You are no longer looking outside of yourself for a feeling of wholeness, because you have touched the inherent wholeness of your own boundless being. This leads to the final, beautiful consequence of the dissolving self. The ego is always on a quest. One of its most cherished quests is the search for my life's purpose. It is looking for a grand title, a noble achievement, a dramatic story to add to its identity, to make it feel more solid and important. When the ego's frantic grip loosens, this desperate search for a purpose out there comes to a gentle end. You realize that your purpose is not something you must find or do. Your primary purpose is simply to be the conscious, silent, loving awareness that you are. Your purpose is to be the sky, and from that state of being, from that spaciousness, actions will arise. Creations will be born. Love will be expressed. But they will arise not from a needy ego trying to prove itself, but as an effortless overflow of your true nature. They will be like the clouds that form naturally in the sky, not because the sky is trying to achieve something, but because it is its nature to do so. You are no longer searching for your purpose. You are living it. You are ready to feel the pure, effortless flame of that purpose burning within you. Having witnessed the gentle dissolution of the fixed egoic self, you now stand in a place of profound spaciousness. The frantic, lifelong quest to build and defend a fragile identity has ceased. The desperate search for a role to play, a label to wear, a story to prove, has come to a quiet end. In this new, open stillness, a different kind of question naturally arises. It is no longer the ego's anxious cry of, "What should I do to become someone?" but the soul's quiet, curious whisper, "Who am I? And what wishes to be expressed through me?" This is the beginning of your journey into a new understanding of purpose, not as a destination to be found, but as an inner fire to be uncovered and allowed to burn brightly. For most of our lives, we are taught to think of purpose as a grand, external achievement. It is the Nobel Prize, the best-selling novel, the revolutionary company, the perfect family. It is a singular, momentous, what that we must discover out there. This conventional view of purpose is an ego project. The ego wants a grand title to add to its collection, a noble identity to wear like a badge of honor. This turns the search for purpose into a source of immense stress and anxiety. We feel we are behind if we haven't found our one great passion. We feel inadequate if our work doesn't seem to be changing the world. We are chasing a horizon that recedes as we approach it, because we are looking for ourself in the world of things. But you have learned that you are not a thing. You are the space in which all things arise. And so, your purpose cannot be a thing either. Imagine at the very core of your being, there is a steady, luminous fire. It has been there since the day you were born. It is your unique spark of life, your essence, your soul's signature frequency. This fire is your true purpose. Its nature is simply to burn, to give off its unique light and warmth. For years, however, we have been piling things on top of this fire, smothering its flame. We piled on the damp logs of other people's expectations. We shoveled on the wet ash of our own fears and self-doubt. We poured on the cold water of societal conditioning that told us to be practical, to be realistic, to put the fire out and get a sensible job. Our life's work, then, is not to go out in search of a new fire. It is to return to our own core and to begin the sacred work of removing all the debris that is smothering the fire we already are. This reveals a subtle but critical inner conflict, the tension between egoic ambition and soulful expression. Egoic ambition is what drives you to choose a path because it looks impressive, because it will earn you status, money, or applause. It is the part of you that might choose to become a lawyer, even if you hate arguing, because it is a prestigious and secure profession. Soulful expression, on the other hand, is the gentle, irresistible pull towards that which makes you feel most alive, regardless of its external status. It is the part of you that might be drawn to gardening, to fixing old clocks, to listening to the stories of the elderly, to any activity that makes you lose track of time and feel a deep, quiet joy. The world, run by the collective ego, will praise your ambition. But only you can feel the slow death of your own inner fire when you choose a life that is not aligned with your soul. Here is the most liberating truth about purpose you will ever hear, from the great mystic Howard Thurman. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Let this sink into the very marrow of your bones. Your greatest gift to the world is not your reluctant sacrifice. It is not you performing a role you think is important while your own spirit withers. Your greatest contribution is your own aliveness. A resentful doctor, burnt out from a career they never wanted, heals no one. A joyful baker, who feels a deep sense of purpose in the simple act of kneading dough and creating nourishment, radiates a healing energy to every customer they serve. When you are doing what makes you come alive, you are tapped into the source of life itself. You become a conduit for a creative energy that is far greater than your small self. And this energy, this fire, is what truly nourishes and inspires the world. So, how do you discover what makes you come alive? You do not find it by thinking harder. You find it by feeling more. You will now become a detective of your own energy, a student of your own aliveness. This is the practice of energy flow awareness. Pay attention. As you move through your day, notice the activities that cause you to enter a state of flow. Flow is that magical state where time seems to disappear. Your sense of a separate self dissolves, and you are completely absorbed in the task at hand. It could be anything. Perhaps it is organizing a complex spreadsheet or brainstorming ideas with a team. Perhaps it is playing a musical instrument or weeding your garden. Perhaps it is the deep listening you offer to a friend. These activities are clues. They are pointing directly to the nature of your inner fire. They are the activities that allow it to breathe. Conversely, notice the activities that make you feel drained, heavy, bored, and contracted. These are the things that are smothering your fire. Your task is simply to notice and to gently, over time, begin to choose more of what ignites you and less of what extinguishes you. You may discover that your purpose is not a single job title. It may be a quality of being that you bring to everything you do. Perhaps your purpose is to create beauty. You can live this purpose while you are cooking a meal, designing a website, writing an email, or simply arranging stones in your garden. Perhaps your purpose is to bring order out of chaos. You can live this purpose by cleaning your home, organizing a community project, or clarifying a complex idea for a colleague. Your purpose is not a what, it is a how. It is the unique flavor that only you can bring to the world. It is the way your fire burns. When you begin to live from this place, you stop chasing purpose and you begin to radiate it. A fire does not have to try to be warm, it simply is warm. A flower does not have to try to be beautiful, it simply is beautiful. When you align your life with what makes you come alive, you don't have to try to help the world. Your very presence becomes a helpful and healing force. The energy of your own authentic joy is contagious. It gives others permission to seek out their own inner fire. You are no longer acting from a sense of grim duty or a need to prove your worth. You are acting from a place of overflow, of effortless, joyful expression. This is the ultimate service. And so, you stand now, not as a seeker looking for a light, but as the fire itself. You have cleared away the debris of your past conditioning, your fears, your false identities. You have fanned the embers with your attention and your courage. The flame is now burning steadily, warmly and brightly. It is a beacon in the quiet wilderness of your own being. And a fire, when it burns brightly in the darkness, naturally serves one ultimate function. It becomes a light for others. It becomes a lighthouse, standing firm and radiant in the inevitable storms of life. You have tended to the fire at the core of your being. You have cleared away the debris of fear and self-doubt, and the flame of your unique purpose now burns with a steady, quiet light. As this inner fire grows in strength and clarity, it naturally begins to do what all fires do in the darkness. It radiates. It gives off light and warmth, not because it is trying to, but because it is its nature. This effortless radiation of your own inner state is the culmination of your journey. It is the point at which your own healing becomes a healing presence in the world. You are no longer a seeker of the light, you have become the light. And your function now is simply to shine, to be a lighthouse in the storm. The world is a vast and unpredictable ocean. Every person you meet is the captain of their own vessel, navigating these waters. At times, the sea is calm and the stars are clear. But inevitably, for every soul, the storms will come. The storms of loss, of confusion, of fear, of heartbreak. In these storms, the sky turns black. The waves of emotion become overwhelming. The winds of chaos howl, and the captain becomes utterly disoriented. They lose their sense of direction, their hope, their belief that a safe shore even exists. In these desperate moments, the most powerful and welcome sight is not another ship being tossed in the waves alongside them. It is the sight of a distant, steady, and unwavering light. A light that says, "I am here, I am stable, a shore exists." You are not alone in the darkness. This is your new role. This is your sacred, effortless service. But here, on the very cusp of embodying your true purpose, lies the final, most subtle trap of the ego. Having undergone a profound transformation, having found a deep sense of peace and clarity, the ego can resurface in a new spiritual disguise. It sees the suffering of others, and it wants to become the helper, the healer, the savior. It wants to jump into the churning water, swim out to the other ships, climb aboard, and seize the wheel from their hands. It wants to shout instructions over the storm. It wants to fix them. This desire, while it may feel compassionate, is often the ego's last desperate attempt to create a new, superior identity for itself. The identity of the one who has it all figured out. This is a path of doing, of forcing, of intervention. The path of the lighthouse is the path of being. This presents the final inner conflict of the mature soul, the compassionate human urge to do something to alleviate suffering versus the deeper, spiritual wisdom of simply being the space in which others can find their own way. The truth is, you cannot navigate another person's ship for them. You do not know their unique charts, their vessel's weaknesses, their soul's intended destination. Your attempts to save them often disempower them, robbing them of the very challenges that are necessary for their own growth. By jumping into their storm, you do not calm their waters. You merely get swept up in their chaos, and now there are two ships lost in the darkness instead of one. Your greatest power, your most profound gift, is to resist the temptation to rescue and to instead commit to the much more difficult and disciplined task of staying firmly on your own foundation and keeping your own light burning brightly. Here is the core message of your selfless service to the world. You cannot calm the storm for another person, but you can be their lighthouse, standing firm and shining your light, showing them that a safe shore exists. Your foundation is the unshakable presence you have cultivated by anchoring yourself in the eternal now. It is the solid rock of your own being. Your light is the authentic, peaceful, and loving energy that radiates from your inner fire. It is the warmth of your acceptance, the clarity of your non-judgmental presence. The lighthouse has only one job, to be itself. It does not worry about the ships. It does not strain to shine brighter. It does not discriminate, shining for some vessels and not for others. It simply stands, rooted to its foundation, and radiates its light, consistently and without agenda. The practice, then, at this stage of the journey, is the ultimate practice of non-doing. It is the practice of being. Your spiritual work is no longer about striving, healing, or becoming. Your work is to fully and completely embody what you have become. Your primary responsibility is to your own foundation and to your own light. You practice by maintaining your connection to the present moment. You practice by continuing to nurture your inner state of peace, regardless of the storms that rage outside. You keep the lens of your perception clean through gratitude and self-honesty, so your light is not distorted. This is not a selfish act. It is the most generous act you can possibly perform. To be a stable, peaceful, and loving presence in a turbulent world is the greatest service there is. You will find that this form of service is completely effortless. When you are firmly rooted in your own being, your light shines automatically. Your calm presence will de-escalate a tense situation at work without you saying a word. Your quiet joy will give a struggling friend a moment of hope, even if you never speak of it. Your clarity will help a confused family member see their own situation more clearly, not because you gave them advice, but because your non-judgmental listening provided a clear space for them to hear their own inner wisdom. You will help people most, not by trying to fix them, but by providing them with the living example of a person who has found their own way back to shore. You become the proof that peace is possible, that healing is real, and that the storm does not last forever. And so, the journey comes full circle. You began this path as a ship lost in your own storm, feeling isolated, disoriented, and hopeless. You learned to listen to the whispers of the universe, to trust the compass of your soul, to forge your own path through the wilderness, and to find your way to the solid ground of your own true nature. And here, on the shore you have fought so hard to reach, you make the final, stunning discovery. You were never just a ship. The entire journey of being lost was the curriculum you needed to learn how to build a lighthouse. Every challenge, every scar, every moment of despair was a necessary component in its construction. Your life was not a mistake. It was an initiation. You had to know the darkness to learn how to hold the light. You had to be lost to understand the value of a beacon. Your purpose was never just to save yourself. It was to become the safe harbor for others that you yourself were so desperately seeking. Stand tall on your foundation. Let your light shine. The storm is raging, and there are many ships still lost at sea. The journey we have taken together has not been a journey of addition, but of subtraction. It has not been about becoming someone new, but about courageously letting go of all that you are not, so that the truth of who you have always been could be revealed. Think of yourself as a master sculptor who was given a magnificent block of marble at birth. Within that marble, a perfect statue has always existed. But over the years, the stone was covered with layers of mud and grimeath, mud of other people's expectations, the grime of your own fears and limiting beliefs. This journey was simply the process of patiently, lovingly, chipping and washing away all that obscured the masterpiece. You have not created a new self. You have uncovered the real one. We have walked a long path. We began by recognizing the incessant, critical narrator in the mind and realizing we are the silent awareness behind it. We cut the heavy anchor of blame and looked into the unflinching mirror of our own truth. We learned to touch our scars with compassion, transforming them into sources of wisdom. We found sanctuary in the cathedral of silence, and in that quiet, we learned to plant the seeds of conscious intention. We stepped into the forge of discipline to temper our will into steel, and then learned the complementary wisdom of water, the strength of surrender. We have moved from a life of frantic doing to one of graceful being. Know this, as we come to a close. The power that has sparked your transformation was never contained within these words. These words are merely tuning forks. The resonance you felt, the moments of clarity, the shivers of recognition, that was the sound of your own soul's truth, vibrating in harmony with what was being said. These words were only ever a key. Your own heart was the lock. You, and you alone, were the one with the courage to turn it. And so you stand now, not at an end, but at a true beginning. You are the lighthouse, rooted firmly on the rock of your own being. You are the conscious gardener of your own inner world. You are the captain of your ship, with your hand on the rudder and your eyes on the compass of your soul. The real work, the joyful work of living from this place of authenticity and peace, now begins. The story is not over. It is just beginning. The pen is in your hand. The ink is your awareness. The silence is waiting.